I didn't expect that one day I would travel to Konoha, and what the hell, I would still be an intern teacher after time travel. Dry. Kanda Kyochi sits in his office doubting his life. The day before, I was still having a headache because the little boy in elementary school didn't like male teachers. I didn't expect that I wouldn't have to worry about losing my job or being complained by my parents the next day. Now, looking at the noisy children outside, he couldn't feel any excitement in his heart. The ninja world is too dangerous. Konoha is relatively safe, but after so many years there are still disasters. This is not. A few days ago, the Battle of Kikyo Mountain had just ended, and Kyochi was injured and returned to the village. After healed, he was assigned to work as a teacher at the ninja school. Hey, it's a pity that the Senju clan has long since fallen, otherwise they could rely on Senju to eat and drink. Kyochi sighs. The Kanda family has Senju blood. The Senju clan used to be brilliant, but since the first generation, the Senju family has been continuously diverging and merging into Konoha. After the second generation, the Senju family basically has only a few direct descendants, and now, basically, Tsunade-ji is the only one who can really be called Senju's family. However, even Tsunade does not actually have Senju as his surname, so Kyochi Kanda will not be able to enjoy the dividends of the Senju clan. He guessed that the Senju blood in his body was not strong. At least it is impossible to be taller than the granddaughters Tsunade. Forget about sage body. Talent, 15 or 16 years old, still just a chunin, it seems like that. Kyochi was worried. If things go on like this, whether they can live to old age or die in this life is a question. After all, Konoha will face various disasters in the future: the Third Ninja World War, Nine Tails Night, Konoha's collapse plan, and so on. A chunin, facing those enemies is simply like a fly shaking a tree. The aftermath could kill him. If you don't get some Hashirama cells later, you may have a chance to master wood style. Kyochi thought. Ninja world is too dangerous. If you don't become stronger, you are simply waiting to die. He was thinking about this when the bell rang outside. Get out of class has ended. It seems to be me in the next class. Kyochi mainly teaches ninjutsu. He didn't understand why he came to teach this. After some inquiries, it seemed that his predecessor died in a battle on the front line, and when the position was vacant, he temporarily arrested a young man. Therefore, Kyochi belongs to the internship position. That's all. Let's go to class first. Anyway, the school ninjutsu class is not difficult. 3 body technique. The memory in the head is enough to fool children. Kyochi thought to himself. He just got up when a strange voice sounded suddenly. Can't hear at first. But then he understood. The tutor system is being activated. Activation successful. Teach students with heart to get rewards, and become a life mentor will get more extra rewards. Currently there are novice gift packs. Do you want to receive them? Host. Mentor system? Novice gift pack? What is this? Introductory spree. Kyochi was stunned for a moment, then thought to himself. Get it. Your 3 body technique proficiency has been raised to the highest level. You have been rewarded. Bloodline purification. Your bloodline has been purified and promoted to Senju bloodline, and your physique has been greatly improved. Your earth style, water style effects have been improved. In the corridor, Kyochi first had a lot of usage and knowledge about the 3 body technique in his mind, and then he felt his blood boil. He was sure that his body temperature was soaring. Is this a purification effect? He was a little confused at first, but then there was a burst of ecstasy. Senju blood. Just looking at the eyes, the improvement of physique, earth style and water style are all obvious. In addition, a strong physique means that the amount of chakra has also become more. There will be even more benefits in the future. Identity, Hashirama cell compatibility, etc., can be imagined. What's more, what kind of mentor system do I have? The novice gift pack is so powerful, maybe I will have a chance to get Sage Body or even Rinnegan in the future. With this system, it is possible for him to survive in the ninja world. Kyochi couldn't help being excited. I don't know how the tutor system is. He thought to himself. Judging from the system prompt, as long as you teach students with your heart, you can get rewards, but it was mentioned later that you can get more rewards by becoming a life mentor. However, what is a life mentor? Kyochi thought about it for a while, and decided not to think about it so much, and went to the classroom to talk. Look at my group of students, who are they? After the blood was purified, he soon noticed the changes in his physique. Not to mention, just walking is much faster. At the door of the classroom, he saw a familiar person. Uchiha Obito. This guy, are you Uchiha Obito? Yes, teacher. When Obito saw Kyochi, he was a little embarrassed, standing at the door awkwardly. Go in and sit down. Don't think about it. Must be late again. After entering, he saw many familiar faces. Lin, Yuhihong, Asuma. Also, Shisui, Anko and Hayate are also in the squad. Manpower was scarce in wartime. Many teachers have gone to the front line, so the ninja school with a small age difference has been combined to teach together. This is a temporary policy, and it is a matter of no choice. Including Kyochi's provisional call-up, "Hi everyone, my name is Kyochi Kanda, and I will be your ninjutsu teacher next." "Teacher, I heard that you just came down from the battlefield. Can you teach us more practical ninjutsu?" Obito yelled when he saw Kyochi enter. This guy is really not afraid of life. Purely socially obsessive, I met Kyochi on the front foot, as if I had known each other for a long time. Kyochi gave him a speechless look, but besides him, Yu Hahong and Lin were also very curious about the teacher who came down from the battlefield, and they had some expectations in their hearts. They all have the idea of graduating early. Therefore, the battlefield and new ninjutsu are all things they yearn for. However, among the ninjutsu mastered by Kyochi himself, apart from the three body technique, there are only shadow clone, body flicker technique, water lumper and water barrier. It is impossible to teach them, and with a half smile, he looked around and said, "Do you think that your three body technique is fully qualified and you don't need to practice at all?" No one answered, but the expressions of all the children showed that their inner thoughts agreed. "Okay. Then for the first lesson today, I will teach you three body technique. If you think it can meet my standards, what's the point of me teaching you a new ninjutsu?" Kyochi smiled. With his full level of three body technique, it is more than enough to teach them. A bunch of kids who want to run before they can walk. Let's go to the training ground. Okay. Arrived at the training ground, Kyochi glanced around. There are a lot of talents here, but in fact, in terms of overall strength, Obito can at least rank in the top 5. He just doesn't have Sharingan. Except him. Probably Shisui. "Obito, Shisui, you come up." Yes. Obito hustled to the middle. Shisui followed suit. 1 against 2? Together, attack me with all your might. What? Yes. Obito was still in shock, but Shisui responded without hesitation. Follow closely. Shisui took out kunai, looked at Obito, and gestured. This is Uchiha's contact code. Obito froze for a moment. The little brother of the family. Very serious. He looked serious, nodded slightly, and quickly pulled out his shuriken and threw it at Kyochi. Except for occasionally messing around, being late, and not awakening Sharingan, this kid has pretty good grades in other aspects. With unremitting efforts, his shuriken manipulation skills are very strong. A dozen shurikens, flying from multiple angles, blocked all routes of Kyochi. However, Kyochi formed a seal, and a clone appeared. Next moment, the two figures began to quickly avoid the shuriken. The movements of the real body and the avatar are different, but the movements of avoiding the shuriken are perfect, and none of the shuriken hits. Shisui was looking for an opportunity, but Kyochi's clone had no flaws at all, and it was impossible to distinguish. And Kyochi is fast. This is Chunin's strength? He was shocked. Aren't you attacking? Then I will come. Kyochi smiled, followed quickly to kill Obito. Get this done first. On the road, the real body and the clone are in front of each other. 2 shurikens were thrown. Obito retreated quickly, with seals in his hands, and then opened his mouth to spit out. A fireball engulfed Kyochi's figure. Great fireball technique. Obito. Lin was startled. This kid is too reckless. This kind of battle unexpectedly, he actually used this level of ninjutsu. However, the next moment, she realized that her worries were unnecessary. In the fireball, Kyochi rushed out quickly. It's a clone. Shisui understood. But what about mommy? He scanned the audience with his eyes, and finally he stopped breathing, and quickly shouted, Obito, be careful. Obito looked blank. Be careful? Be careful, this is a clone. The next moment, Shisui formed a seal, and instantly went to Obito's side. He pulled out kunai and hit the shuriken that was off course. The shuriken appears and transforms back into Kyochi's form. But, boom, kick. Shisui was kicked out. Obito was about to move when he felt a chill on his neck. Kunai. On the battlefield, you are already dead. Kyochi said flatly. Obito's strength is not weak, but it's a pity that he lacks alertness at this stage. Certainly. Children are about the same. The strongest here may only be Shisui. That body flicker technique. As expected of the future Shisui. Father, like son. Obito doesn't know what's going on, but others can see clearly. Before Obito releases the great fireball, Kyochi only throws 2 shurikens. But after the great fireball, there was an extra one. Apparently, Kyochi used the body replacement technique to dodge, switch positions, and the transformation technique to turn into a shuriken. It's great because its Kyochi is fast, almost in one motion. Amazing. Lin's eyes widened. Is this teacher really just Chunin? Shi Hahong was surprised. If Shisui hadn't noticed, Obito might have been killed instantly. This teacher is definitely not an ordinary Chunin. Elite Chunin. Even comparable to Jonin. And his three-body technique is amazing. Even my father may not be as good as, at this level, come to be their ninja school teacher? She finds it incredible. Now do any of you still think that three-body technique is useless? I haven't used Shadow Clone just now, otherwise there will be more changes with Shadow Clone. Kyochi said and threw a smoke bomb. The smoke cleared, and there were more than a dozen clones inside. Guess, how many of these are Shadow Clone and how many are clones? If there was a Sharingan, Obito didn't dare to say anything more. Sharingan is rare. Not everyone in the clan is awakened, and only the Uchiha clan of Konoha has it in the ninja world. Except for Sharingan and White Eyes, only a few perception secrets can distinguish the difference between clone and shadow clone, but the probability of encountering this kind of enemy is very low. Most of the time, this trick works. So, you guys are still too young and too simple, learn hard, and still take the three-body technique class today. Who is for and who is against? Kyochi glances over. No one dared to speak. Obito may be the tail of the crane in theory, but he is not weak in actual combat. Although Shisui is young, he is very strong, and it is estimated that he will be able to meet the requirements for early graduation this year. Actually, Shisui himself thought so. He didn't think he could learn much from the ninja school, thinking about graduating early this year and leaving. But Kyochi arrives and makes him feel different. The opponent didn't use other ninjutsu, just relying on the simple cooperation of three-body technique and taijutsu. He and Obito quickly countered and killed such strength. It's just Chunin. It turned out that he was still too weak. Facts have proved that it is still useful for the new official to take office. It is a wave of deterrence. No one has any opinions on Kyochi's lectures, and everyone listens carefully. Konoha office. Master Third Generation. Sit. Third Hokage was smoking a cigarette, and there was a crystal ball on the desk in front of him. It was Nara Shikahisa who entered the door. Shikahisa, how much do you know about this kid Kyochi? Kyochi. Lu Ju glanced at it and noticed that in the crystal ball, the scene of Kyochi leading the children to train suddenly emerged. But he glanced at it a few times, secretly surprised. What a powerful three-body technique, not just solid. The knots are so fast they're almost invisible, and the three-body technique's coordination has reached ultimate. Although it seems that there are many loopholes in the practice field, if combined with smoke bombs, ninjutsu and shadow clone, Kyochi can survive on the battlefield with his three-body technique alone. Not only that, this kid's physical skills are also very strong. He is Chunin? Wrong. Lu Ju recalled the information about Kyochi in his mind. He was not so strong before, and his physical skills were excellent, but he did not perform so well in the screen. Master Third Generation, I remember that Kyochi's grandma is from the Senju clan. You mean, he probably awakened Senju's bloodline? Third Generation smoking motion stops. Senju family. It is possible. Senju's bloodline is very strong, and the chakra, the target of the second generation, was naturally superior to ordinary people in terms of physique. And life and death battles can often stimulate potential. The pipe tapped the table regularly. Third Generation was silent, and after thinking for a long time, smiled and said, "It's a pity that Tsunade is not here, otherwise she must be very happy to know the news." Yes. Lu Ju didn't say much on this topic. He looked at the crystal ball, observed for a while and said, "My lord, I think Kyochi's strength can be rated at least as special Jonin. His credit is not enough, and it is a bit inappropriate to rush to promote." Third Generation shook his head. When Lu Ju heard the words, he nodded and stopped talking. "Okay, you go down." Yes. Lu Ju left. Third Generation sat on the seat and didn't smoke, letting the shredded tobacco burn over there, looking preoccupied. It's been a long time. He tapped a few times. After a while, an Anbu appeared. Let people keep an eye on Tsunade's whereabouts. If you encounter him, tell her that Kyochi may awaken the blood of the Senju clan, and ask her if she would like to go back to the village to have a look. Yes. Three-body technique is the most basic ninja and also the lowest consumption ninjutsu. In the practice field, we can use powerful ninjutsu without worrying about chakra consumption, but it is different on the battlefield. Save a little chakra, maybe save a life. Kyochi began to talk about his own understanding and skills. Some from the predecessor, but more from the three-body technique, knowledge provided by the system. Everyone listened carefully. It's not like it was then. Successive wars have made Konoha a little green today, and more children are graduating early to join the war, such as Kakashi, Guy, etc. are listed here. Many of this mixed class may participate in the battle this year. The guidance of an old ninja on the battlefield is really very useful to them. At this moment, not even the skinniest Obito dared to whisper. Teacher, how can I use less chakra? Teacher. It's question time. A group of people raised their hands enthusiastically. Kyoshi answered one by one patiently. The bell rang. Get out of class has ended. Okay, students, you can practice on your own after you go back. If you have any questions, you can ask me after class or ask questions in the next class. If there is nothing wrong, everyone can disband. Kyoshi breathed a sigh of relief. The first class in the ninja world was relatively perfect. If you were shocked at the first time, it will not be too difficult to teach later. But now it seems that the handouts that were sorted out before are all redundant. It is impossible to follow the script in the real class. These students are not others. Many of them are geniuses and people who will leave their names behind. Each of them has their own ideas, and they can't be restrained without some dry goods. By the way, Obito, the first period is my class tomorrow morning. If you are late, run 200 laps around the playground. What? Obito is dead. Before leaving, why did you come here? What if you were really late tomorrow? Everyone, see you tomorrow. After Kyoshi finished speaking, he left immediately. Back in the office, he glanced at the system for the first time. When class was over, he heard a prompt from the system, but he didn't listen carefully. Complete the first lesson teaching, evaluation, excellent. Bonus ninjutsu water dragon bomb technique water dragon bomb? 44 stamps? That thing. Kyoshi was stunned for a moment. But after receiving and checking, he knew that he had wrongly blamed the system. This is a simplified version of the second generation project, with only 4 seals, plus the gains I got from the Senju bloodline awakening before. This ninjutsu reward is definitely not bad. Go back and try. Kyoshi thought to himself. From activating the system before to awakening the bloodline, he has not tried the power of water-style ninjutsu, nor has he had an accurate assessment of his current strength. This is not acceptable. The outskirts of Konoha. After class, Kyoshi came here and found the riverside area. Then, Shadow Clone. A clone exactly like him appeared. Time is precious, you go to exercise physical skills. I will try the power of a genin technique. Nima. Why don't you switch our jobs? Shadow Clone wanted to complain, with a speechless expression on his face. But who made it a clone? No way. He had no choice but to get up and find a woods to practice physical skills. If he could practice physical skills such as Leaf Hurricane and Shadow Dance Leaf, he would earn money. Kyoshi himself checked chakra. Chakra is much more. With this amount of chakra, at least 3 shadow clones can work at the same time. It is incomparable with Naruto, but it is much more than adult Kakashi. Kyoshi is more satisfied. Naruto is not only blood, but also 9 tails chakra and Ashura chakra, which are open and unreliable. He looked around. I found an open space and quickly sealed. Water dragon bomb technique. The next moment, the rushing water turned into a dragon rising up to the sky, and there was a roar, and the ground was smashed into a big hole by the high-speed bombardment of the water dragon. Very powerful. Although it will be slightly weakened if you stay away from the river, the gap will not be too large, and the consumption will increase at most. In this way, there are both killing and defense. Kyoshi thought to himself. Water barrier, water dragon bomb, plus water chaos. I don't have too many shortcomings in my current abilities. Certainly. Only available at the Chunin and Jonin levels. Compared with ninjas above elite Jonin, his means are too weak. But take your time, with the system in place, the days are still long. He got up, ready to go back to eat a good meal. As for avatars, let him exercise over there. Just as Kyoshi took a step, he suddenly noticed a wave of breath, and he turned his head to look over there. Who? Teacher, it's me. Behind the tree, a figure slowly walked out. No need to look at him. Just by the sound, Kyoshi knew who it was. Uchiha Shisui. Shisui, do you have something to do with the teacher? Yes, I have some doubts. I hope I can ask the teacher. Shisui immediately bowed. Seeing that Kyoshi was very gentle, without the slightest impatience, he walked over with a hesitant expression on his face. Tell me the story. Teacher, I originally wanted to graduate early this year, but after I played against you, I was a little worried. Will graduating early cause trouble to my teammates? Shisui voiced his question. Kyoshi froze for a moment, then felt like laughing. It seems that I have hit him. He thought for a while, and then said, with your strength, you are definitely not weak, and you won't be held back when you get to the battlefield, but if the battlefield is not corrupt, I don't recommend that you graduate so long in advance. Teacher, please advise. Shisui bowed solemnly. Sit down. Let's chat as friends. Kyochi sat down and pointed to the grass, motioning for Shisui to sit down too. Shisui followed his word. Do you know the original intention of Shodai and Nidaime to create ninja school? Shisui shook his head. Do you know the will of fire? Where the wood leaves dance, the fire is always alive, and the fire will illuminate the village and let the new trees sprout. Shisui nodded this time. The third generation has talked about it, and it must be learned in the thinking class. One of the meanings is that children are the future of Konoha. First generation and Nidaime advocated the construction of ninja schools in order to let children fight at night. Kyochi explained. His grandma is from the Senju family, so these histories are widely circulated, but it is not a secret, so there is no need to worry about being seen by someone who likes to peep. Shisui was thoughtful. The battlefield will make people grow up early, but you are only 5 years old, and after another year or two of study, your strength and thinking will become clearer and more mature, and it will not be too late to go to the battlefield by then. Kyochi said. How many genins are missing in the battlefield? No. What is missing is chunin, jonin. Third generation sent children to the battlefield in advance. In essence, they just hoped that they would grow up quickly under the high pressure of war. But, Shisui hesitated to speak. He thought for a while. First generation and Nidaime seem to have said similar things, but why are so many children sent to the battlefield ahead of schedule? Such as Kakashi. This senior graduated at the age of 5, and now it is said that he has become a chunin with outstanding military exploits. War will make people grow up quickly, but correspondingly, they will lose a lot of things. Running first may not necessarily mean excellence. Kyochi couldn't help recalling the Kakashi-related clips in his mind. Formerly on the same team as Kakashi, that rascal. It can only be said that the temper is really stinky, and people can't like it at this stage. I see. Thank you, teacher. Of course Shisui didn't understand what Kyochi said. He couldn't understand at this stage at all, but he knew one thing. The teacher didn't hate him as a student of the Uchiha family. On the contrary, he is willing to communicate and share with himself. This was enough to make Shisui happy. Kyochi didn't say anything. Ninja school is one of the few places where Uchiha can communicate with the rest of Konoha. After graduating early, it will be too difficult to get in touch with Konoha civilians. Uchiha seems to be privileged, but in fact he is divided. Kyochi disagrees, but is powerless to change. He didn't mean to change anything when he said this to Shisui, it was just a sudden rise. However, after a while, he was prompted. You have received preliminary approval from Uchiha Shisui. You get a reward. The foundation of illusion. Illusion? This really involves blind spots. There are many more memories in Kyochi's mind, and he ponders them carefully for a moment, feeling quite satisfied in his heart. He didn't intend to be a master illusionist. However, the illusion is solidly grounded, with some extra side effects, the ability to control chakra. Teacher, can I ask you some questions later? Sure. Kyochi was all smiles. Not coping, but really happy. Good boy Shisui. The sheep delivered to your door, wool and scissors are all ready for you. Thank you, teacher. Shisui bowed deeply. He hasn't realized that his image in Kyochi's eyes has changed from a good boy to a big fat sheep that can be plucked. Let's go. The teacher treats you to a meal. Kyochi smiled. Ah? No need. Shisui was a little embarrassed, but was still dragged away by force. Far away. Shadow Clone looked resentful, watching him take Shisui away from a distance. Good guy. It's all fake to bring students. What the hell is that he just wants to not exercise and let his avatar work here as a coolie? Mentality collapsed. What Kyochi makes the clone practice is taijutsu. As for the body, this can only rely on their own hard work. Let's do it later, the injury is still not healed. And, only when you are full can you exercise. Ichiraku Ramen Restaurant. Boss, 2 bowls of ramen. Okay, sir, please sit down for a while. Today, Ichiraku is only in his 20s and looks very young, and his daughter Ayame was born not long ago. Shisui looked around curiously. He had heard of this store, and Obito seemed to like coming here, but he hasn't eaten yet. Not long. Lin, I was really just careless during the day. If I do it again. No, when I awaken Sharingan, I will definitely beat the teacher all over the floor. Obito is bragging outside. Before entering the door, he danced and even talked and gestured. Shisui raised his forehead. I just thought of this big brother of the same family, but I didn't expect to come in the next moment, and his appearance was so unexpected. Looking for teeth all over the place. Thank you for saying it. He has many Sharingan, and he doesn't think he can win Kyochi, especially after seeing the power of Kyochi's water style ninjutsu. Shisui is clear. In class, the teacher didn't really care at all. Kyoshi wasn't surprised at all. Obito is called the tail of the crane by Kakashi, not for nothing. This product is not weak. But, during this period, he was the same as Naruto in the early days, and his combat IQ was really not good. Detour and cooperation. Don't know, still very arrogant, talking about Sharingan all day long, although the gap between him and many Uchiha geniuses is actually just a Sharingan. After entering the door, Lin immediately stamped her feet. Obito trembled all over, seeing Kyoshi's first reaction was turn around and leave. But no way, I have to go to class tomorrow. Running now is considered to be escaping, and the punishment may be more serious later. Obito's face turned green. Nimas. I'm just bragging. Why is it such a coincidence? People are numb. There was a stiff smile on the corner of his mouth, and he bowed deeply when he entered the door. Smi Masai. Obito, you can make mistakes as fast as you can apologize. Yes, I'm very sorry. Obito flushed. Okay, sit down. Tomorrow, I will take the exam on the combination of transformation technique and clone technique. When the time comes, you can go on stage and give everyone a demonstration. What? PFF'd. Lin couldn't hold back. How arrogant Obito was bragging just now, how cowardly he is now. She had fun watching it. Teacher, I can't do it, chakra controls, I'm the last one. Obito's voice was inaudible at the back, mainly because he boasted that he could beat the teacher violently with the Sharingan on his front foot, but he hit him face to face with his back foot, and the situation was really embarrassing. Knowing your own inadequacies is a good thing, and practice more before you go to the battlefield. As for Sharingan, the blood succession limit is only external, and whether you are strong or not depends on yourself. Shisui, what do you think? It's a good thing to have numbers. Kyoshi is a sermon in passing. What if you hit a spot and get a wave of rewards? Life mentor. Try more, there will always be. Just so happens to be another Uchiha over here. Is it a coincidence? Rational. Shisui thought for a long time, and finally nodded slightly. No Uchiha does not desire Sharingan, but he listened to Kyoshi's words. After careful consideration, he found that indeed, as the teacher said, many strong people do not have the limit of blood succession, but they are still strong. Such as 3rd Hokage, 3rd Raikage. They are all strong men who have no blood successors, but are still famous in the ninja world. Obito felt uncomfortable, but couldn't find a reason to refute. At this time, ramen came. Guests, take it easy. Thanks. Kyoshi sorted out his mood, and then moved his chopsticks after going through the cutscene according to the local etiquette. Go in with a mouthful of noodles, good to eat. The taste is very strong, and the ingredients are also very rich. No wonder it has been able to gain a foothold in Konoha for so many years. Shisui has mixed feelings. There was apprehension, but also joy. This was the first time he hadn't eaten in the Uchiha tribe's land. But feel good. Obito was depressed and sat on the sidelines. But as soon as the ramen is served, he immediately turns into a rice cooker. I'm gonna start now. In the middle, the beating wife came out to help with the child in her arms. The shop is too busy. Kyoshi and the others came early, so they had a seat, and those who came later had to stand and wait in line. This was wartime, and there would be more people in normal times. If you have a good craft, you can make money even in the ninja world. After eating, Kyoshi paid for the treat, said goodbye to Shisui, Obito, and Rin, and headed home. After looking at it, I didn't get any rewards. But not a big problem. Now it's fish farming, there will always be a day when they take the bait. Leeks are not afraid of being strong. Upon reaching home, his shadow clone chakra was depleted, disabling the clone. A wave of exhaustion set in. It felt so sour. But it works really well. Although physical exercise was ineffective, the attempt and training of gymnastics moves was effective, and it could almost let him know what level his physique was at. Roughly estimated, the body technique alone should be considered a powerful group among Jonin. Certainly. This is nothing, I can only say that if I go to the battlefield again, I have a certain ability to protect myself. Physical arts and water style are my current strengths. Although I have obtained the foundation of illusion and strengthened the ability to control chakra, illusion is not my specialty. The next step is to think more about earth style. Kyoshi secretly planned in his mind. The reward for the illusion is completely a surprise, not enough to be included in the plan. Or earth style is more important. Although water style is strong, it has certain geographical limitations. Earth style still needs to be mastered, certainly. Another important reason is to be rated as a Jonin. Mastering 2 evasion techniques is a must. Otherwise, Kyoshi can only be a special Jonin even if he has enough credit. If you want to find a corner in Konoha, it is definitely not enough to be special Jonin. Kyochi stood at the door. Kanda's house is not small, but there are not many people in the house. His parents died in the Second Ninja World War, and his grandmother passed away a few years ago. But there are still some treasures in the house. Some scrolls left by grandma back then. The Senju clan is very generous. When every clansman intermarries with a foreign race, they will ask them to bring something as a dowry. Those scrolls were brought by her from the Senju clan. The predecessor didn't care about those, but Kyochi felt that there might be something there that could be used. He rummages carefully. Really, one of the volumes contains special content. Although some of Senju Tobarama's fencing materials are only copied versions, they do not systematically form fencing moves, but they form a complete fencing system. Konoha-style swordsmanship. This book is really precious. Kyochi sighed inwardly. Grandma didn't choose ninjutsu scrolls, but chose to copy this book, really wise. If the descendants have enough understanding, they can extend a swordsmanship system from this book, but unfortunately, his father does not seem to have that understanding, and has not realized the secret technique. Although he has mastered certain swordsmanship, it is very superficial, and the previous generation did not learn it. Kyochi thought for a moment and put the book away. Take a good look tonight. He looked at the rest of the books, and they were not ninjutsu scrolls or secret scrolls, but ordinary books that recorded family history, but compared to second-generation swordsmanship notes, those family history books were read the most times. Alright, let's practice now. After Kyochi rested, he had recovered. He goes to the yard. The next moment, Jian. Ontology, it's best to practice this kind of thing by yourself, right? I want to exercise my body, so I can only let you do the swordsmanship. Kyochi smiled. Avatar was speechless. Really? Shadow Clone came out. How could it be a blessing? Practice it. The next day, Kyochi came to school in good spirits. He felt the strength of Senju's bloodline today. Not just physique. Yesterday, I did Shadow Clone and high-intensity training on the body, but I was alive and well overnight, without any fatigue at all. It's Obito. Kyochi came to class and couldn't help laughing a little. Obito was stuck. It looked like he had rushed all the way, and chakra had consumed a lot on the way, and now he was out of breath and embarrassed. Teacher, I'm not late. Obito took a few breaths. He was afraid that he would be late, so he never stopped along the way. His physical skills and body flicker technique were already poor, and he ran to school with very little chakra left. I said yesterday that you were the first to demonstrate the combined use of clone technique and transformation technique. Kyochi was smiling while standing on the podium. What? After hearing this, Obito's face froze instantly, and then quickly collapsed. He forgot about it. Or come out of your own mouth. Or, I wish I didn't take Lin to eat ramen yesterday. He took a deep breath. Then, he bravely stepped onto the stage. He seals quickly. Compared with Naruto, Obito's control over chakra is still much stronger. After all, he doesn't have 9 tails in his body to make trouble, but I have to say. This chakra control really stinks, not for a while. Chakra spilled out, and a moment later, there was Kyochi lying on the ground next to Obito. Exactly the same. Kyochi sighed inwardly. Obito scowled. He didn't feel ashamed, he just wondered if Kyochi would punish him for it again. This teacher. People are good, but their minds are as small as the eye of a needle. You have a lot of chakra, and you have good talents in ninjutsu and shuriken, but physical skills and chakra control are your weaknesses. You have to work hard to improve, otherwise you will be hindered in the future on the battlefield. Kyochi reminded. Obito quickly bowed and said, "Thank you, teacher." Teachers of the past would just shake their heads. But this Kanda-sensei, he didn't mean to look down on him, but instead raised some points, which alone made Obito erase many thoughts in his mind. Climb trees, tread water, take care of yourself. Kyochi said flatly. Climbing trees, treading water? Many students below were puzzled, including Iruka. They are civilians, and they didn't know this kind of knowledge before they were divided into groups. Use chakra to attach to the soles of your feet to climb trees, tread water. Just use chakra to make yourself walk on water. Kyochi said. I seem to have heard my father mention it. Have you practiced? Asked Obito. No, I did it without practicing. Sunset shook her head. Nima. Talented people are annoying. Obito slander. Teacher, can you tell me in detail? Can. Kyochi explained how to climb trees and tread water. This type of knowledge is not mystical, but knowledge itself has barriers. If no one teaches it, the people below will not understand it. He mentioned these in the hope that civilian children can practice in advance, so that they will not lag behind others too much in the future on the battlefield, and have a little more hope of surviving. Certainly. Perhaps third generation hopes that these will be postponed to group teaching. But it's wartime. How can Jonin have time to teach? You guys usually practice more. That's enough. The next one. Kyochi nodded, motioning for the others to come up. Except for Obito, chakra does not consume much and has good control. It is not difficult to combine transformation technique and clone technique. Later, he requires more clones. This is even more difficult. But this time even Obito recovered. Although 2 or 3 of them were crooked, it can be seen that Obito's own ability is not as good as Naruto's. It was just that chakra was exhausted and made a fool of himself. Soon. One class is over. Easy. Kyochi kind of enjoyed it. Children in the ninja world are much easier to teach than the bear children in the previous life. All of them are very obedient, and the most naughty students are only late, skipping classes and leaving early. Not to mention, when he took over, no students left early. Come back to the office. Kyochi glanced at the system panel. Complete the teaching of transformation technique, clone technique combined application, climbing trees, and treading water. Evaluation. Excellent. Reward. Chakra perception. Chakra perception? Kyochi looked around, and then decided to accept it. Then, he poked his fingers on the ground, and after a while, chakra poked out, and everything around him entered his mind. It really is this technique, to be precise. This is not ninjutsu or occult art, but the ability of second Hokage Senju Tobirama. Kyochi chakra scattered, and quickly sensed the darkness around him. There was a figure in the darkness, but from his position, he could clearly see part of the situation in his courtyard and even the house. Anbu? Kanda Kyochi didn't turn his head. He knew that the other party was probably staring at him at this moment. Looking outside, there is Anbu in another part of his house, but there is no more outside. To Anbu. Kyochi restrained chakra, thought for a moment, and understood it in his heart. I was only a chunin before, and everyone who came to the top knew how strong I was. After returning from injury, I improved a lot, and my physique has also improved. Third generation may have guessed it. The current monitoring, on the one hand, is just in case, and on the other hand, it is to confirm the situation. The 2 Anbu should have followed yesterday. Blood of Senju. Kyochi thought for a moment, narrowed his eyes, and finally said nothing, pretending not to know that there was Anbu around his house. But it's not just third generation that he's thinking about. And Danzo. Most of Konoha's dirty things have something to do with him, and 9 of the 10 conspiracies have nothing to do with him. Therefore, Danzo in the previous life was called Naoying. Previously, Kyochi felt that he was miserable, and he was responsible for the third generation all his life, but in Konoha, he had to consider the impact of Danzo. This old brat should be secretly researching Hashirama cells in recent years, right? In the past, Konoha's real Senju blood was only Tsunade, and Tsunade was powerful and prestigious, and Danzo didn't dare to move at all. However, I am different. The Kanda family is left alone, a chunin, and no one dares to say anything if it is dealt with secretly. The more Kyochi thought about it, the more dangerous he felt. Now that Konoha is third generation and Danzo is in power, it is really hard to predict what these 2 old bastards will do. Fortunately, I have acquired chakra perception. With this perception technique, at least he can predict the opponent's actions in advance. Actually, if it's just Hashirama cells, it would be of great benefit to me if I could get my hands on it, but with Danzo, it's no different from seeking skin from a tiger. After today's class, many of you are still not up to the standard in 3-body technique. Go back and continue to practice. Another day of class is over. Kyochi is a little tired. There are too many talents in this class, but there are still many chakra who are not strong in control. As students, they are naturally enough, but as genin going to battle, they're not even close. Among them, Obito has made rapid progress. He can already climb trees. This guy is really talented, but it's a pity that he keeps talking about Sharingan, as if he can destroy the world by opening his eyes. Kyochi felt powerless to complain. Leaving the school after class, he secretly observed with chakra sense. Anbu is gone. Left? Kyochi thought to himself. If it is the root, it will never give up easily. It appears to be a subordinate of the third generation. This is a good thing. He breathed a sigh of relief, touched his pocket, and couldn't help but let out a long sigh. I was going to find someone to forge a sword. But, poor, he understood Kakuzu. Because at this moment, he also wished to find a wanted criminal and arrest him for money. Chunin's salary is too little. That's all. Exercise first. Regarding the sword, we will wait until the salary is paid. Kyochi started running towards the suburbs along the Konoha road. However, not long after, he sensed a person following him. He walked forward calmly. Shisui followed from behind, and was about to chase forward, when suddenly, a cold kunai hung around his neck. The one running ahead turned into a bubble. Doppelganger. Shisui was surprised. Teacher, have you found me? It's difficult to find out what you have, don't you still have classes? Kyochi made a joke, and put away kunai. Shisui bowed slightly. He seemed hesitant to speak. Let's go for a run together? Yes. Shisui saw that the teacher didn't ask questions, and a gleam of joy appeared on his face. Then, he followed Kyochi, and the two ran out along the road one after the other. After getting far away from Konoha, Shisui caught up and whispered, Teacher, I went back yesterday. The patriarch hopes that I can graduate this year and then join Anbu. Your patriarch? Uchiha Fugaku? Kyochi frowned upon hearing this. No wonder he ran so far to say this, and at the same time, he was surprised that Shisui would talk to him about this. This kid. I really trust myself. Hey, he knows shit. What? Shisui froze for a moment. My teacher. He was a little surprised that he would say such a thing. Shisui, you are a smart person, and you trust me and are willing to talk to me about this. I am very touched. Do you know what your patriarch means? Guess. Shisui's tone is low. Although he is young, he is very smart and precocious, and he already knows many things. For example, the meaning of the patriarch is obviously to hope that he can quickly show his talent, and show the meaning of leaning towards Konoha, and then join Anbu to play for Uchiha. But he didn't think it was right. Shisui, you go to ninja school, did you have any troubles? Unpleasant. Well, not really, it's just that the other students don't want to get close to us Uchiha. Do you know why? Kyochi smiled. Shisui shook his head. You are still young, and you can't decide many things. You may not understand what I said, but you can keep your own thoughts, observe and think more with your own thinking. Like the problem you encountered, you can think about the reason and treat it as an extra topic for you to skip class this time. Saying that, Kyochi immediately speeded up. Think why? Shisui froze for a moment, then quickly followed. He pondered as he ran. However, where did Shisui think about this? Before, he just thought that those classmates ignored him, and he just ignored those people. I'm graduating soon anyway. But get to the bottom of it. Is it because of the Uchiha clan? But why? When he thought about it, he found it really weird. Unknowingly, he followed Kyochi for a short distance and was out of breath. Kyochi had actually slowed down, but Shisui continued to run as if he didn't notice. Soon, they ran back to Konoha. Okay, let's stop here today, and we'll talk later when you figure it out. Kyochi smiled. If you tell Shisui directly about class conflicts, he will definitely not understand. Let him figure it out for himself. And there is an example right here. Yes. Shisui nodded heavily. Kyochi left. He was about to go back to the Uchiha clanland. He glanced casually, but saw someone who surprised him a bit. Obito. Why is he here? This is a small village on the edge of Konoha. Mostly civilians and some old men and old ladies live there. Obito seems to have a good relationship with them, eating the fruits given by the old ladies while talking and laughing. Why? What is Shisui doing? He was helping civilians carry water and firewood. What? A look of confusion flashed across third generation's eyes. The moment he heard the news, he even thought he misheard the name and heard Obito as Shisui, but after a while, he felt that he was not that old, and his subordinates were not so stupid as to recognize the wrong person. He froze for a long time. Then, put down the pipe in your hand. Shisui help carry water and firewood? Yes. Anbu was also confused. In fact, it was Genin's job to carry water and firewood. But now is the time of war. Where did Genin do these jobs? So many tasks have been accumulated. Usually Obito is doing it there. Everyone just pretends not to see it. However, Shisui is a highly valued genius of the Uchiha clan. He doesn't go to training and goes to work for nothing like Obito in the homes of ordinary people. What is he trying to do? Well, I see. Third generation waved his hand, signaling him to go down. Then, he immediately took out his crystal ball and cast the telescope technique. Not for a while. A picture of Obito and Shisui helping carry water emerged in the crystal ball. Third generation looked blank. He didn't understand at all why Shisui also messed up along with it. Could it be Obito? Still, Uchiha Fugaku? Third generation frowned. If it's Obito with Shisui, it's okay, but if it's Uchiha Fugaku, it's really troublesome. He unconsciously lit a cigarette. Thinking carefully, third generation thought of another person. Kanda Kyochi. I heard before that since Kyochi became a teacher, Shisui gradually got closer to him, and then the two ate a bowl of noodles at Ichiraku Ramen. Could it be him? Not impossible. Thinking of this, third generation dug out the Anbu scrolls from the previous 2 days. It says what they have seen and heard. The body is strong and the recovery ability is extremely strong. I use Shadow Clone to speed up the training. I practice swordsmanship in the courtyard. It seems that I have Nidaim's Konoha-style swordsmanship notes. According to Anbu observations, while Kyochi's body isn't as scary as Shodai's, it's not too different from Senju Tobarama's. Senju blood is undoubtedly, as for the fencing notes. The one from the Kanda family was a close relative of the teacher back then. Third generation sighed in his heart. He never expected that the Senju clan was gone, and one day such a powerful physique would be reawakened among Senju's descendants, which is incredible. Certainly. If that's the case, third generation still has doubts. The disappearance of the Senju clan may not be what everyone wants, so he is still a little bit worried. But if Shisui's change is really due to Kyochi Kanda, then I'm really overjoyed, because this is enough to prove that this descendant of Senju who has awakened from another generation still has the will of fire in his heart. Third generation thought over and over again, took out the Jonin test list, and added one to it. Kanda Kyochi. For the next 2 days, Kyochi had no classes. When he came to school on the third day, sitting in the office, he heard the teacher in another class next to him complaining to another. Hey, for some reason, Uchiha Shisui has also started to be late lately. I must have learned from Obito. Indeed, every time Shisui is late, there is a share for that kid. Shisui started to be late too? Kyochi was surprised, and then looked strange. Learn how to be late? Absolutely. I asked him to observe, but didn't ask him to really do things like Obito. Kyochi, you are the first class today. If those 2 boys are late again, you can't be soft-hearted. The first time you were soft-hearted, they won't know how to be afraid the second and third time. Yes, thank you, Senior Ishimura. Kyochi nods. When the time was approaching, he was about to pick up his things and go to the classroom. When he glanced outside, he saw 2 figures, whoosh and whoosh, rushing past the door. Although it is fast, at least the teachers are all chunin, so they can see clearly. Shisui, Obito. In the office, the atmosphere was dull for a while. There is no class yet. The 2 boys didn't behave like this 2 days ago. Even occasionally Shisui took the lead in skipping class, but it turned out that it was Kyochi's turn, and instead of being late, the 2 of them arrived early. I thought it was Shisui who learned badly. Unexpectedly, the other party just didn't like his class. What the hell, the mentality collapsed. Ishimura stared at Kyochi, watching him leave the office, and then couldn't help but banging his head on the table with a look of shame on his face. Teacher Shiken, it's impossible, just 2 brats. No, the temporary teachers are more popular than me, it's uncomfortable. Shiken Chongchong wants to cry but has no tears. He thought to himself that after more than 10 years of teaching, he had graduated countless ninjas, but in the end, he was not as popular as a temporary transfer. The other teachers fell silent for a moment, heartbroken old man. Kyochi was out of the office, but actually heard it anyway. No way. Perceived, hearing power has also improved. All he can say about this is, what I teach are all dry goods, so they are naturally incomparable to me. To the classroom. Everyone sat upright. Today I saw Obito and Shisui rush to the class with body flicker technique. It's very good, so let's test 3 body technique first. If there is no problem, I will tell you about body flicker technique. Kyochi thought for a while and said, I didn't teach new content a few days ago, and even the system is diving and not bubbling. Teach something new today. Body flicker technique. This technique is actually only AD level ninjutsu, but the effect in different hands is quite different, and it is also a basic ninjutsu worthy of deep training. Okay, there was joy in the classroom, certainly. Only partially. Because there are a large number of people who have not actually mastered the 3 body technique tips. Kyochi looked around, smiled and said, don't be too happy, we are in a special period now, so the upper and lower grades are mixed together to teach. I see it as a whole, understand? Yes. Several senior students including Lin and Yuhihong instantly understood the meaning. They are almost useless. In the whole class, if many people are not proficient in 3 body technique, they have to wait for those children who are slow to comprehend. If you want to learn the body flicker technique earlier, you have to help the children who are lagging behind improve their grades. Obito knows that he has his own share here, but he has confidence. In the past 2 or 3 days with Shisui, he is not always doing good things, and occasionally asks this genius brother for advice. Tested it out. Really. Although most of them have mastered it proficiently, half of them have not learned to climb trees and tread water, and the 3 body technique is relatively unfamiliar. At this time, many geniuses below began to write comprehension and handouts, thinking about how to motivate other people in the class. During free practice, most of them quickly found those students who fell behind. Kyochi admires his own genius. We had to catch children with poor grades, but now we can't solve it all? Who said they were bears? This is not very good. But a student caught his attention. Moonlight Blast. This kid is very gifted and a quick learner, but ahem. The combination of transformation technique and clone technique. The idea is to distribute chakra, and the seal should be fast. You can complete the tree climbing first. Heck, I will teach you. This cough. It's a bit fierce, brother. Moonlight Gale. Information about him came to Kyochi's mind. Moonlight, the heir to swordsmanship, poor health. But in the memory of Kyochi's previous life, there are many more in-depth materials. Through the escape, suspected tuberculosis. There are no anti-tuberculosis drugs in this era. Moonlight Gale has suffered from tuberculosis since he was a child, and he also practiced escape and swordsmanship. No wonder he died early. Kyochi frowned. To the Yuguang family, he is just an outsider, and what can he do even if he interferes with himself? He doesn't know medical ninjutsu, and he doesn't know medicine either. Nothing can be done. Such a disease, in the absence of a specific medicine, only one person in the entire Konoha can cure. Tsunade. However, the current Tsunade Shenlong can't see the end, and if you want to find her, you can only go to various places to stay, which is too difficult. There are good students leading poor students, and Kyochi doesn't have to do it himself. Ninja children are sensible. I just had a rest. Before class, he assigned a shadow clone to practice sword at home. Too tired to bear it later. The mentality of the teachers in the office collapsed even more. This isn't teaching like this misleading students. But the strange thing is that the children are very happy, and each of them is very motivated. Weird thing. Is self-study better than teacher taught? Confusing. They wanted to learn it secretly, but now, it can only be said that Kyochi's teaching makes them difficult to understand. After class, Kyochi glanced at the system and couldn't help being amused. You have mobilized the autonomy of the students, and most of the students have realized something. Evaluation. Good. Reward. Increased body flicker technique proficiency. Kyochi's body flicker technique is not bad, but it's only okay in Chunin, and it seems a bit unsightly at the Jonin level. This wave of proficiency rose in time. He figured it out a bit. The rewards of the system should be based on the improvement effect and psychological feedback of the students. Then he will understand. Kyochi pondered for a moment, clapped his hands to attract everyone's attention, and said, "This is the end of this class. You can practice on your own after school. I will test it in the next class. If the effect is up to standard, I can guide you on the body flicker technique." It is good. Everyone is enthusiastic. Teachers who don't know are admired. Kyochi looks young, but his teaching methods are very strong, while those who know have complicated feelings, envy and hatred. This is so easy. It happens that students eat this set. After all, as long as you are proficient, you can learn new knowledge and ninjutsu. Who doesn't want it? Change them, they want it too. Students are not genin. In school, teachers will only teach the most basic things, and other things will not be involved too much. It's not that teachers don't want to teach, but most teachers themselves are not grandmasters. They know a little bit about climbing trees and treading water. However, body flicker technique is much worse. The Jonins don't look down on them at all, and even some children from the family also look down on them. If you teach them, something will happen, so it's better not to teach them. Kanda Kyochi. They don't know much about Kyochi, they only know that this kid was injured in the battlefield, and after he recovered, he was pulled to come to the post. Temporary, not the same. Senior Shiken, my class is over, and the next class is up to you. Okay. Thank you Kanda-sensei. Shimura Chongcheng took a deep breath. It's up to me. He must let the children know that teaching depends on the old teacher. Kyochi packs his things. Calculating the time, when I came back from an injury some time ago, the Jijang mountainside was almost over. The battle with Sanagakure is almost over for now. There should be a period of peace during this time. But in half a year at most, the war between the outer village and the Nation of Fire will start again. Not much time for myself. Fortunately, there is a system. Kyochi received the reward, and a lot of knowledge about body flicker technique came into his mind. Whether proficiency is high or not depends on the details. The use of chakra, physical strength, etc., the grasp of speed, etc. Go out and practice. Kyochi sorted out the papers and left the school. After confirming that no one was watching, he ran a long way, and then he probably had a bottom line in his heart. The improvement is not small. Chakra consumes and casts the body flicker technique much faster, and his speed and distance are more accurate. His current body flicker technique is better than many Jonin. This level. Not to mention ordinary students, even the current Shisui can calm him down. Go back to dinner. After exercising my muscles and bones, I only dealt with it indiscriminately for breakfast, and now I am really hungry. He goes to the village, to the entrance of the village. Two people appeared in his line of sight, and Kyochi was surprised when he saw this. Shisui, Obito. The two skipped class again? He even ran out to do good deeds. Do good deeds, right? Shisui, is it really okay for us to do this? Over there, teacher. It's okay. I know how to master the shuriken taught by Ishimura-sensei, Obito big brother. If you don't understand anything, I can teach you everything. Good guy. Shisui is also the main culprit of skipping classes. Let you observe, but you surpass Obito. Kyochi is a little curious. What is Shimura Chongcheng feeling now? He must be very angry. The two rush to attend their own class. Just slip away from his class. It's too embarrassing. Kyochi feels that the face of the other party will not be very good looking when they meet tomorrow, but it doesn't matter anymore. He is a temporary worker at the ninja school, and he might leave next year, so he doesn't need to care about the opinions of these people. Kyochi shook his head, ready to eat noodles as planned. But at this time, Shisui also found him. Teacher. Are you there? Shisui really doesn't avoid suspicion. He was still skipping class, but when he saw Kyochi, he ran over directly. Are you really not afraid of me, and you are not worried that I will catch you back? You are not that rigid, teacher. Shisui chuckled. Obito was a bit afraid to approach from behind, but he was relieved to find that Kyochi had no intention of taking Shisui back. I asked you to observe, but I didn't ask you to follow suit, and I even dragged Obito to skip class together. Kyochi was speechless. I kind of understand it, but I don't understand it completely. I don't know how to say it at all, so I want to try again. Shisui scratched his head. Along with Obito, he found that the attitude of those ordinary old ladies became more and more kind to him, seeming to forget that he was a member of Uchiha. But ask him to tell the reason, but he can't tell. At this moment, Shisui's heart felt as if bitten by insects and ants. He didn't want to go to any class except Kyochi's class. As for Obito, this guy is good at ninjutsu and fighting, but let him think about it. Shisui feels like he's overpowering, even though Obito is 4 years older than him. Go on, don't say you met me. Kyochi nodded. In his opinion, this is a good thing. The original Shisui was too naive, thinking that the conflict between Uchiha and Konoha could be resolved only by means of ninjutsu and genjutsu, but he didn't realize that everything he did was useless. Shisui is just naive. Even Itachi was demoted, and he will do a bunch of things with cerebral palsy later. Thinking about it now, it's pretty good. What are you talking about? Why can't I understand it all? Nothing, teacher, goodbye. Shisui waved goodbye. He still doesn't understand, and needs to continue to search for answers. Kyochi watched them leave, sighing inwardly. In Konoha, Uchiha is not the only one divided into a corner, which can be called a village within a village. There is another family as well, the Hyuga clan. Uchiha sent people to study at the ninja school at least every year, while the Hyuga clan hardly sent people to the ninja school. Most of them were taught by their own clan. However, only Uchiha was targeted, while Hyuga was not subject to any policy suppression, and the reason was not just that the Uchiha family had differences themselves. Even if Shisui becomes the patriarch and leads the tribe to become a good Uchiha, Danzo may not be willing to put down the butcher knife. In terms of attitude towards Uchiha, he is even worse than third generation. If Shisui can't figure out the reason why Bayou Zebo and Konoha civilians are separated, there is no need to elaborate on these things. Kyochi turned around and headed for the Ichiraku ramen restaurant. As for the third generation, what are you worried about? Third generation is different from Danzo after all. I just came into contact with Shisui because of the friendship between teachers and students, and let Shisui and Obito help civilians and do white jobs. He has to thank us. He goes to the Ichiraku ramen restaurant. Just as he was about to sit down, a figure quickly rushed towards him. Whoosh, a sound. Masked Anbu ninjas appear. Kyochi Kanda, Lord Third Generation orders you to go to the Hokage building. Yes. Okay, I'll go right away. Kyochi was taken aback. But the other party was very purposeful, and it was obvious that he was really coming for him. He didn't think much, and followed Anbu Ninja to the Hokage building. Both of them used the body flicker technique very fast, and they arrived at the Hokage building in just a few seconds. Master Third Generation, they have brought you here. Go down. Yes. Anbu Ninja disappears. In the office, only Third Hokage and Kanda Kyochi remained. Third Hokage took off his bamboo hat, stood up with a smile like an ordinary old man, looked Kyochi up and down, and then sighed. I didn't expect that. I haven't seen you for a few years, and you are so big. Master third generation knows me? Kyoshi was slightly surprised. Of course, your grandma and my teacher are close relatives. I hugged you when you were born. Third generation said with a smile. I haven't heard grandma mention it before. Kyoshi scratched his head in embarrassment and smiled awkwardly. But his heart is clear. It's hard to say whether there is such a thing. Most likely not. But there is no need to expose it. Third generation said these scenes, and has been using many actions to narrow the psychological distance between him and himself, obviously trying to win over himself. This is better than rejecting. After all, you are still my nephew. Sit down and chat like a family member. Thank you, Lord Third Generation. Kyoshi bows. After third generation sat down, he took a chair and sat down. Third generation picked up the cigarette stick, put it on with a smile, and then said, after you returned to the village after being injured, how do you feel recently? My lord, you may not believe it, but after I recover from my injury, my body seems to be stronger, and my water-style ninjutsu seems to be more powerful. Kyoshi told some of the information truthfully. The smile on third generation's face became brighter, took a puff of cigarette and said, silly boy, you have the blood of the Senju family in your body. This is the awakening of the Senju blood. Huh? Really? That's right. The third generation is getting happier. Kanda Kyoshi didn't hide anything, and told himself the truth. This is good. After he smoked a cigarette, he said, I've heard about your performance in school. It's wartime now, and the school's grade system and graduation time are very chaotic. It doesn't make much sense to follow the steps. You have done a good job in flexible teaching. Yes. Kyoshi smiled all over his face, thinking about the intention of third generation in his heart. Mention Senju bloodline, school performance. Are you going to give yourself a promotion? Don't be too nervous. I called you here to chat with you. By the way, your strength has reached the Jonin level after awakening the Senju bloodline. Would you like to take the Jonin exam? Third generation took out an application form. Jonin exam application. This form needs to be filled out by yourself. Jonin exam? Kyoshi was stunned. He guessed that he might want to benefit himself, but he didn't expect that it would be Jonin's promotion exam directly. Jonin. He was lost in thought. There are pros and cons to this matter. As a Jonin, the power and freedom are greater, but the responsibility is correspondingly greater, and the tasks that I assume after that are more arduous. But anyway, the third generation's assessment of its own strength is here. If you don't promote Jonin, the other party has ideas. Thinking of this, he scratched his head and said, Master Hokage, I'm just Chunin, I'm worried that I'm not capable enough. The strength is definitely enough, and other aspects can be improved. There is a lot of vacancies in Jonin after many years of war, and now there is an urgent need for manpower to make up for it. It would be the best if you can make up for it. Third generation sighs. My lord thinks I can do it, then I will try. Kyoshi breathed a sigh of relief. He took the form and signed it. That's right. Ability can be cultivated. Spirit and will are the key. There are not many people who can understand the will of fire. Third generation said with a smile. Kyoshi understood. Shisui. See? He said, third generation has to thank himself. Certainly. Now Uchiha is probably jumping. He is a genius. He became like this within a few days after he became a teacher, and he will come to trouble him someday. But it doesn't matter. Uchiha now this group is soft leg shrimp. When Madara ran away, they didn't dare to follow. After Kagami's death, the third generation took over and oppressed them layer by layer, making them gradually move away from Konoha Center, but they still didn't dare to resist. It wasn't until life was too difficult that I thought of rebelling. Why did you go early? Kyoshi looks down on the current Uchiha, including Uchiha Fugaku, from the bottom of his heart. This is also an incompetent person, weak and indecisive. If Shisui can get rid of his unrealistic delusions and get rid of his naivety, even Shisui is much more qualified than Fugaku. Out of the office, Kyoshi walked home, thinking secretly. The attitude of third generation is obvious. He is recruiting himself, hoping to lean towards the Hokage faction. For this reason, he brought up Senju's relationship back then, and brought up Chen Gutsu's rotten sesame seeds to make connections. Although ridiculous, it is enough to prove that third generation has no malice towards itself. In a short period of time, there is no need to worry about the third generation shooting itself. Even third generation may also protect itself from Danzo. Just be on guard against the dark tricks. As for the promotion of Jonin, there will be wars in the coming year, and having a Jonin position will benefit me a lot. So, Jonin's position is definitely up for grabs. Only, as a Jonin, what should I do with this system? Kyoshi glanced at the tutor system. This system is good as a teacher. After becoming a Jonin, there is absolutely no possibility for him to stay in the ninja school. However, I was originally a temporary worker. Even if it wasn't Jonin, it seemed unlikely that he would continue to stay at the ninja school after recovering from his injury. Thinking of this, Kyochi's thoughts cleared up. If you become a Jonin, you can still apply to lead a team. If you don't want to give full play to the characteristics of being a good teacher, you can just teach others everywhere. Not a big problem. Now it is not the same as it was in the later Naruto. The selection of Chunin and Jonin examinations is actually decided by the village. The Chunin joint examination is a game method used by villages in peaceful times after the war. So, the Jonin exam this time was held internally by Konoha. During the war years, the general Jonin promotion process is very simple, but the current situation is different. The war is coming to an end. Yes. Third generation is mentioned with Kyochi. The war on the front line is completely over. Sanagakure sued for peace, and now the ninjas have each withdrawn. The war is in the final stage, and some ninjas will even return to the village recently. The ninja school graduation exam is also on the agenda. It seems that during this period of time, we have to find a way to speed up the progress. There are so many little fat sheep, it's a pity not to grab them. Kyochi pondered secretly. If his speculation about the system is correct, the next wave of teaching body flicker technique should be able to make a lot of money. But that's all the rewards for teaching children alone. It seems that this system needs to be studied. According to the novice rewards, the rewards he has received so far are really not high. There must be a way to get higher rewards. On the second day, Kyochi had no class, so he let the avatar practice swordsmanship while he went out to exercise. There are many more people on the street. It seems that some ninjas have returned. Kyochi saw an acquaintance, all in green. Might Guy. He graduated from ninja school at the age of 7, and in that exam, he even fought against Obito, directly interrupting all the seals of Obito's great fireball technique. After running for a while, Kyochi saw another acquaintance. Might wear it. The same outfit, except for more beards. It's a larger version of Guy. Might wear? Kyochi's heart skipped a beat. That's a good goal. Others don't know, but he understands how strong Might Dai is. In the original book, Might Dai didn't know physical skills, and opened the 8 inner gates only with his strong body, and with punches and kicks, he beat the famous Mist Ninja 7 swordsman into 3 auspicious treasures. If you learn physical skills, what's the point? Kyochi's heart skipped a beat. If you can teach Might Dai, the reward will definitely be extraordinary. But if I go up rashly, I have to give pointers. I'm afraid the other party will treat him as a crazy person. You have to figure it out slowly. Thinking of this, he didn't say much, just ran as usual. Might Dai didn't pay attention at first, but on the second lap, he noticed Kyochi who had been running. There are also ninjas in the village who are keen on taijutsu. And very young, 15 or 16 at most. Might Dai was a little curious. The third circle, the fourth circle. Might Guy speeds up. Kyochi chuckled secretly. The child really couldn't hold his breath, so he couldn't help but want to make gestures. He also picked up speed. Kyochi has Senju blood, and his body recovers quickly. Although he is not as strong as Might Dai, but I can't outrun you, lousy. I can't outrun you. After an hour, Might Guy noticed that Kyochi's face was not red and he was not out of breath. He knew that this boy who was a few years older than himself didn't use much strength at all, and he would definitely be able to run up faster, and it wouldn't be too strenuous. Just when he was pondering whether to take off the weight. Guy. You bastard. Boom. Heavy muffled sound. Might Guy was kicked out of the air. Follow closely. Might Dai rushed over with a whoosh, held his head in tears and said, You bastard. Training hard is not for you to compete and fight. Yes, father, I know I was wrong. Take a deep breath. No wonder Guy is called a rare beast by Hoshigaki Kisame, and Madara can be seen from the current Might. The two hugged each other and wept bitterly. Rao Kyochi watched it in anime, but he also felt a strong sense of discomfort. In his era, these two people are definitely out-and-out social bully patients. Too fierce. Only. In the eyes of others, it is inevitable that it is a bit embarrassing. At this moment, he was considering whether to go away for a while and come back later. Fortunately, at this time, the crying stopped. Thank you for not being as knowledgeable as my child. Might Dai said gratefully. Although he didn't know Kyochi's position, he vaguely felt that it was at least above Chunin or even stronger. Just exercise, what's the point? Kyochi shakes his head. Then, he said goodbye to Might Dai and Might Guy, and continued to run forward. After running for a while, he went to a roadside forest and began to practice his moves. In fact, it is the gymnastics moves studied by Guy. Leaf Hurricane. This move is the core of Might Guy's Gangshen Taijutsu, and many subsequent taijutsu moves are extended from this, and the difficulty is not too great. Previously, Kyochi's shadow clone took half a day to practice in a decent manner. At first Might Dai and Might Guy didn't care. But, passing by a few times, seeing Kyochi still practicing spin kick, they couldn't help trying to figure out this move. Result. Aren't you running away? Ah. I'm very sorry. We secretly watched you practice just now, I'm really very sorry. Might Dai immediately bowed and apologized. Although ninja practice is not so taboo, but if they keep staring at moves, it is easy to cause disputes. It's nothing. I'm still working on this taijutsu. If you're interested, you can study it together. Let me introduce myself. My name is Kyochi Kanda, and I'm a teacher at ninja school. How about you? Are you a teacher at the school? Might Guy was a little taken aback. She doesn't look much older than herself. Sensei Kanda, my name is Might Dai, and this is my son Might Guy. Might Dai pulled Guy and said, you guys are very strong, do you want to study gymnastic moves with me? This, you really want to teach me? Dai hesitated, but Might Guy couldn't help it. This trick is very appetizing, he wants to learn. It's not a very powerful technique in the first place, and I'm just thinking about it. Kyochi said. Suddenly exerting strength, he jumped up and kicked round, and kicked heavily on the tree. The thick tree shook several times. It's actually a simple roundabout kick, but with physical strength and chakra, it can play different levels of attack. Kyochi said, kicking again. This time, instead of kicking a tree, he kicked a stone. Boom. With one kick, the stone cracked. Okay, that's amazing, father. Might Guy turned to look at Might Dai, he wants to learn. But Might Dai said before that it took him 20 years to practice that move. If he was distracted from practicing these moves, he might not be able to master his father's moves. Guy hesitated. In fact, Might Dai is also hesitating. He is 10,000 years genin, and his son Guy is also not a genius. He failed all the grades in school except physical skills, and he was able to graduate because of his extraordinary physical skills. Usually, the two have been unpopular. This boy is a chunin at a young age, and he is very kind and even willing to teach them physical skills. Ms. Kanda, it's just gymnastics. Kyochi didn't force it, and practiced by himself while talking. Might Guy imitated the action. Might Dai hesitated for a moment, and finally did not pull Guy to leave. I practiced all afternoon. During the period, Kyochi didn't say much on purpose, and only gave pointers when Might Guy asked, and Might Dai was still doing push-ups at first, and then followed suit. Kanda big brother, can we still exercise together tomorrow? Tomorrow I have class in the afternoon, maybe I will exercise for a while in the morning, and I can exercise together in the morning. Kanda Kyochi said. Yes, Mr. Kanda, thank you very much. Guy, look, there are still teachers who won't mind you. This is youth. Father. Might Dai burst into tears. Later, the father and son hugged each other and wept bitterly. Although it is just a physical technique, it has a different meaning to them. Before, no one would care about them, but Kyochi didn't dislike it, and was willing to share his research, taijutsu with them. During the period, he also talked about some techniques of exerting force and chakra. Although it may not be useful, it makes them very moved. Kyochi was silent, not knowing what to say. These two father and son. Wonderful. But just as great. Might Dai, as 10,000 years genin, has always been ridiculed by others but secretly worked hard to practice 8 inner gates formation. The most valuable thing is, his mind is to protect. In the end, Dai also practiced his words. Open 8 gate, protect Guy and 2 other kids, and kick 4 of the 7 to death. Practitioner of the true will of fire. Not to mention Guy, almost kicked out of the finale. Guy. Father. Forget it, let's go. Otherwise, there is a feeling of disillusionment. Kyochi leaves silently. He glanced at the system panel, and a prompt flashed on it. Complete the teaching of gymnastic moves. Evaluation. Good. Award. 1. 8 inner gates. 2. 7-day exhalation, the third activity. Host can choose one of them. Choose rewards? Kyochi was a little surprised. Is it because there are masters like Might Dai among the people being taught? Difficult to judge. You can make further observations in the follow-up, and now you are still wondering which one to choose. Both are strong. 8 gates? Kyochi yearns for that kick in the manga. But first of all, 8 inner gates has a channel to learn, and secondly, the difficulty of opening the third gate is not high. On the other hand, look at the 7-day calling method. This is Zi Luo's original physical skill, and no one else knows it except him, and Zi Luo himself is probably still in his infancy. It can be said, this is the only one in the ninja world. Thinking of this, he has made a decision in his heart. System, I choose the 7-day call. Successfully received. The next moment, Kyochi's mind came up with the method of using the 7-day invocation. From the first activity to the third activity, everything is available. Jing adjusted his breathing rate according to the first active method. Soon, he felt the difference. However, the number of cell divisions is limited, and the 7-day calling method, like other ninjutsu that stimulates cells, has the defect that may shorten lifespan. But the vitality of the Senju bloodline is stronger. Like Tsunade's Beihao technique, it also consumes vitality to speed up healing, but after using it so many times, it is still more vigorous than anyone else. Secondly, Hashirama cells can be transplanted in the future to replace the vitality of their own cells. So, this is not a big problem. After getting acquainted with their father and son, you can also exchange 8 inner gates. Perfect. Kyochi gave himself a thumbs up in his heart. This is called making the best use of everything. The next day, he really woke up early and was ready to go out to exercise, and the shadow clone who was responsible for staying at home stayed. Seriously, Kyochi goes out and soon meets Might Dai and his son. Exercise early in the morning. This time Kyochi didn't get any rewards, because everyone was just exercising together and didn't communicate much. However, Might Dai and his son's attitude towards him was obviously different. Day even wanted to introduce his green leather jacket. Certainly, was flatly rejected by Kyochi. Too ugly. If he was asked to wear this kind of thing to school, he might be laughed to death by teachers and students, and the majesty he had accumulated so hard would disappear in an instant. Kyochi, Kanda? Fugaku, this person must have been sent by 3rd generation. He has ulterior motives. Shisui skips class every day and has a bad reputation. Fugaku, you have to take care of it, or we Uchiha's geniuses will be useless. At the end of the war, the ninjas of the Uchiha clan gradually came back from the front line, and the elders of the clan who previously had objections to Shisui's recent behavior came to Fugaku's house one after another. Shisui has been widely expected since childhood. The so-called enrollment is just for show. In fact, the internal thinking of Uchiha is very simple. Let Shisui go to the ninja school for a few months, and then directly apply for early graduation, and the guards in the Wei nationality will be trained. Jonin leading the team? Nothing compares to my own family. But now Shisui's behavior is somewhat deviated from their plan. There was a commotion around. Fugaku frowned, wanting to get angry but helpless. These are the elders of the clan. Everyone is highly respected, even he is widely constrained in the clan, unable to fully display his ideas, so even if there is fire in his heart, he can only endure. After taking a deep breath, he said, it doesn't matter whether this person is sent by the 3rd generation or not, otherwise, which elder should go talk to Lord 3rd generation? This, as soon as someone mentioned who to talk to, all of a sudden everyone fell silent. Talk. How to talk? 3rd generation seems to be easy to talk to, but in fact it is a soft knife, and there is an insidious danzo behind them. If they are asked to talk to 3rd generation, they will not go. The atmosphere was instantly silent. Fugaku sighed, this matter. I will talk to Shisui, all clan elders, let's go away if you have nothing to do. In fact, he knew a lot of news. Kanda Kyochi. Descendants of the Senju clan. In addition, this person seems to have awakened his blood, and his strength has grown rapidly recently. When he returned to the village, 3rd generation also mentioned that he intends to promote Kyochi to Jonin. It can be seen that Kanda Kyochi is likely to be a member of 3rd generation. To talk? Fugaku sighed helplessly, glanced at the toddler, took a breath, and went out. Go to ninja school. He wanted to see what was going on with Shisui now. Ninja school. All children stand on the drill field. The 3-body technique test is completed. Basically, students are proficient in it. Many children are just out of touch with this kind of knowledge, not because they are really poor in talent. With the teaching of Asuma and other family members, they quickly catch up. Now Kyochi is about to fulfill his promise and teach the body flicker technique. Body flicker technique itself is a D-rank ninjutsu, but it is still used until Jonin. Using it well or not depends on the details. In our class, the best body flicker technique is Shisui. Shisui, you should take a look first. Kyochi rolls the roll. The current Shisui has not yet reached the point of instant Shisui, but he has already shown a certain talent. The body flicker technique makes him the best in the class, even the mixed seniors can't compare. Kyochi moves him closer, and, whoosh, as soon as the wind blew, he instantly appeared in another position. So fast. Shisui couldn't help exclaiming. He thought that the teacher might be very powerful, but he never expected that Kyochi's body flicker technique is so fast that there is almost no need for seals, and it can be said that there is no sign when it is activated. Just now he barely felt any chakra fluctuations. This means, if Kyochi is lurking in the dark and suddenly rushes out to kill him, he may not be able to defend himself in time. Amazing. The other students were also amazed. They can't read it. But, soon, it's so fast that you can't see clearly at all, it's almost teleportation. Shisui, show everyone. Yes, Shisui said nothing. Form a mudra with both hands, mobilize chakra, and then dodge behind Kyochi. But his speed is obviously much slower. It seems that there is not much difference, but in fact, you can tell the difference at a glance. Have you understood? Yes. Shiranui Genma nodded excitedly. He gets it. The same body flicker technique, chakra mobilization, seal and other details are different. It seems that there is only a slight difference, but in actual combat, the gap is huge, which may determine the success or failure of the fight or even life and death. What I'm teaching today is the details of the body flicker technique. Kyochi began to tell many details inside. The eyes of all the civilian children were bright, including the children of the small family like Shiranui Genma, because although what Kyochi said was not a secret technique, it was extremely precious to those who had difficulty accessing higher-level knowledge. Asuma listened below, but there were many puzzles in her heart. Teacher, why? How does the family establish a family? It is these skills and secret arts, but Kyochi imparts all his perception and understanding to the students free of charge in the ninja school, which is no less than imparting the foundation of the family to others. This is unreasonable. Asuma at this time is not the Jonin who came back from the daimyo and realized the true meaning of jade. He was confused, full of doubts and curiosity. In Asuma's view, normal people will use these skills to grow their own families, instead of sharing them with others as they do now. After a class, I didn't listen to much in Asuma class. The war is coming to an end, and the ninjas are returning to the village one after another. Everyone may be divided into classes again, divided according to grades, and there will not be many opportunities to study together in the future. Kyochi said with emotion, in fact, these skills are something outside the course, and I could not teach them. Hearing this, Asuma pricked up his ears instantly. That's right. He is curious. Not just him, many kids are curious, including Shisui. However, wars have occurred frequently in recent years. The war with Sanagakure ended this year. No one knows what will happen next year. My parents died very early on the battlefield. I am lucky to survive due to some accidents. Many of you will graduate this year, and I hope you will survive. Scatter. Kyochi waved his hand, indicating that everyone can leave. But all the children did not leave, and everyone vaguely understood the situation. The teacher may be leaving. As Kyochi said, this class was mixed together due to the lack of ninja teachers in the state of war. Now that the war is over, naturally it is no longer mixed as before. And it's impossible for someone as powerful as a teacher to be a real teacher. Maybe Jonin has already been appointed. Yuhihong whispered from behind. Her father was the one who guided Chunin and Genin, and Yuhihong knew very well what strength a normal Chunin had. It is impossible for a village to sit idle with a Jonin. Especially in wartime. Asuma was incomparably shocked. He thought of his father's words, will of fire. What is the will of fire? Perhaps Mr. Kyochi's behavior is the will of fire. You little brats, don't guess randomly. Let's go. Don't forget to exercise after class. Check your progress next time. Kyochi also thought of saying these words on the spur of the moment. One is to talk about part of the heart, secondly. He wanted to test whether the system's rewards were related to the psychological feedback of the trainees. If so, he would be more experienced in pulling wool in the future. And are language and moral education not education? If you don't tell the good deeds, how will the people of third generation know? Kyochi admired himself. Actually, he guessed right, there are quite a few people staring at him now, and third generation is one of them. Witnessing this scene, third generation was shocked. Impressed then. Really? Kanda Kyochi is the one who truly understands the will of fire. As expected of a descendant of the teacher. Third generation is full of emotion. He used the binoculars technique to monitor, and naturally saw Uchiha Fugaku at the school gate. Thinking of the Uchiha clan, he couldn't help laughing. Kanda Kyochi is really capable. Let him be a temporary teacher, and finally educate Shisui to be a good boy like Obito. It's a pity that it's not from my own line. If he can become Tsunade's disciple, there may not be a place for him in the Hokage position in the future. Third generation fell into deep thought. Shisui. School gate. Shisui followed Kyochi all the way out, during which he also asked a few tips about the body flicker technique in detail, and Kyochi gave them all without hiding it. Seeing Fugaku at the door, Shisui was startled for a moment, then turned and bowed. Sensei, are you going to be a Jonin from now on? No accident, it should be. Kyochi pondered for a moment, then finally nodded slightly. The Jonin exam is only because he is not meritorious enough, so he has to take the exam to be promoted. This kind of promotion within the village is more of a formality. Even if it's not a formality, he has confidence. Yes, I see, thank you teacher. By the way, I'll go now. A smile appeared on Shisui's face. Then, he took a deep breath, cleared his mind, and turned to go to Fugaku. Fugaku narrowed his eyes slightly, greeted Kyochi from afar, and took Shisui away. After returning to the clan, only then did Fugaku speak. Shisui, is that person the teacher who was transferred recently? Yes, his name is Kyochi Kanda, and he is a very good teacher. Shisui replied respectfully. I heard that you followed Obito recently and have been helping those people in the village carry water and firewood? Yes, because I found that the civilians didn't seem to like me very much, but there was almost no barrier between me and Obito. I was curious, so I observed it and tried it. Sure enough, the civilians no longer resisted me. A smile appeared on Shisui's face. He looked up at Fugaku and said, Master Patriarch, I think our clan can also try to communicate with them more. Otherwise they will always misunderstand our Uchiha clan. Fugaku was shocked when he heard this. He stroked Shisui's hair and was speechless for a while. Shisui is only 5 years old, but it was the children's words that surprised him the most. Because Shisui is only 5 years old, but he already looks at the problem from the perspective of the family, rather than a simple individual. This is rare. He looked at Shisui for a few seconds, and finally heaved a long sigh, and said, It's not easy. But it's good that you have this kind of thinking. It's still different from Obito's. Obito does things only from the heart. Shisui did and observed with a purpose. The two are obviously different, which made Fugaku feel relieved. My lord, will I be allowed to follow the other Jonin after graduation? Shisui said again. You want to be in that Kyochi's team? Fugaku was tangled. If it was before, he would never agree, but Shisui's words made him realize how smart Shisui is, and Shisui didn't know, but he understood. Right now Uchiha is like a fish in a pond. He wants to try, but he can't find the direction. Now Shisui seems to have his chance. Hooking up with Kyochi Kanda once again serves as a springboard into Hokage's Anbu. Thinking of this, Fugaku nodded slightly and said, I understand. If Kyochi Kanda can be promoted to Jonin and is willing to lead the team, I will ask third generation. Thank you Patriarch. You have completed the teaching of body flicker technique and thought. Evaluation. Excellent. Award. 1. Earth Style Earth Spear. 2. Strange Power Technique 3. Water Style Water Severing Wave. Host can choose the second. Choose 2 out of 3? Kyochi's eyes lit up. Really? Thought education is also rewarded, and it is very rich. These 3 techniques are very powerful and have unlimited potential. Anyone is very strong, but this time you can choose 2. So tangled. It's too hard to choose. If you want to choose one not to learn. I choose 1 or 3. Kyochi thought about it and finally made a decision. After my Senju physique is awakened, both water style and earth style have good bonuses. Now it's time to promote Jonin, and Jonin has one criterion. Master 2 or more nature transformations. Kyochi has the 3 chakra attributes of earth, water, and wind. Currently only water style is mastered. According to Kyochi's guess about the previous rewards of the system, after learning the earth spear, he will get some knowledge of earth style nature transformation. As for the water severing wave, this ninjutsu is too powerful. Receipt completed a wave of knowledge flooded my mind. This is the memory of 2 techniques, at the same time. Kyochi feels that he can use it quickly without practice, and after getting the memory, he has no regrets about his choice. Earth spears do not need seals. Water severing wave does not require many seals, but its power is also huge. As for the strange power technique, it's a pity, but if you spend more time staying, it's not too difficult to find Tsunade. With my Senju bloodline, it shouldn't be a big problem to learn. Kyochi thought to himself. Just after choosing the reward, another voice sounded. Complete Uchiha Shisui's thought, teaching, he regards you as a life mentor. Evaluation. Excellent. Reward. Transient body technique change. Ah? Kyochi was taken aback when he heard the prompt. The previous rewards were expected, but this time there is no preparation. Mentor? I don't seem to be teaching anything. This was a pleasant surprise. Kyochi took a few steps, then paused, recalling the question Shisui had just asked in his mind. Does this kid want to be the genin of my team? Kyochi Kanda did not expect that, as a mentor, the first student would be Shisui. He was a little dumbfounded. Also good. Shisui can be saved by teaching him well. With his unique will of fire, he will definitely not become as naive as before in the future. He was walking home, and as soon as he turned the corner, a figure rushed out with a whoosh. Mr. Kanda, let's have a competition of youth and enthusiasm. Whoever runs to 300 laps first will win, and the loser. Guy. I have something to do, next time for sure. Kyochi's face darkened. Nima. It's okay to exercise together at ordinary times, but once you start to compete with him in this battle of youth, the follow-up will be an uninterrupted challenge. He doesn't want to be like Kakashi. Unfortunately couldn't find Kakashi. Kyochi poked his fingers while leaning against the wall, chakra gushed out, and quickly sensed the surrounding situation. Not for a while. He smiled and said, if you want to find Kakashi, you can walk along this street, and you can find him as soon as you get to the river. Ah? Really? Thank you, Kanda-sensei. Oh. Kakashi, let's have a bloody battle. Guy rushed towards that direction while shouting. It is worthy of being Konoha's blue beast. Kyochi breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Kakashi returned to the village. Distracting Might Guy, he took a few steps, only to sense a person following behind him. Asuma. Old, teacher. Sorry, I didn't mean to follow, no, I. Do you have any questions? Kyochi didn't expect Asuma to follow him, but he was a little surprised and puzzled. Asuma scratched his head. He looked a little handsome without a big beard, but at the moment his expression was a little shy. Come on, go to my house and sit down. Kyochi nodded. He could see that Asuma seemed to be full of doubts, and followed him to ask something. Although Asuma is still a student now, many thoughts have already begun to accumulate, otherwise he would not be promoted to Chunin until he was 12 years old. You must know that this period belongs to the war period. Obito and Lin, who graduated from the same batch as him, were promoted at the age of 11. Asuma is not bad at talent. He was lower than those two, obviously for a reason. The specific Kyochi is unknown, and we can only guess based on the later situation. Since the strength and talent are fine, it is obvious that there is something wrong with this guy's thinking. Asuma followed behind, and he followed all the way, looking around, feeling vaguely familiar. After thinking for a long time, he suddenly realized, this place used to be the house of the Senju clan. Kyochi nods. His family used to be the location of the Senju clan, but gradually intermarried in the later stages of the first generation, and the clan belonging to the Senju clan gradually disappeared. Until the second generation Senju Tobarama period, the Senju clan was basically gone. His family was separated from the second generation project at that time. The teacher is still from the Senju family. Not really, my grandma is. Kyochi smiled. He secretly disbanded the shadow clone who was practicing in the courtyard, then opened the door and went in, took a seat and motioned for Asuma to sit down and chat. Asuma is a little stiff. But, after taking a few sips of water, he gradually relaxed, looked around and said, Teacher, I want to ask a personal question. Who do you think our ninja's Jade chess is? Jade? Really? Kyochi was not surprised. He didn't know whether to say that third-generation education is good or bad. Say yes. Asuma didn't listen to him, and even rebelliously became the 12 guardians in the mid-term. To say the least, he started thinking early again. Kyochi pondered for a moment, finally smiled and said, I don't think it matters who you is. There are 1,000 different kinds of jade in the hearts of 1,000 people. The key is to protect. There are 1,000 different kinds of jade in the hearts of 1,000 people. Guard? Asuma savored it repeatedly and found it very meaningful. But, thinking about it carefully, I felt that Kyochi didn't say anything, and of course Yu had to defend it with all his might, because if Yu died, he would lose. Let me give you an example. Senior White Fang was scolded by many people in the village and committed suicide in order to save his companion. What do you think is the jade in his heart? Master White Fang? Asuma wanted to answer, but couldn't come up with it for a while. He thought for a long time. At last, companion? Yes, in Senior White Fang's mind, the life and death of your companions is higher than the mission, and what he protects is your companions. Whatever is important in your heart, it is what it is. It turned out to be like this. Asuma was thoughtful. Even though it sounded like Kyochi didn't say anything, for some reason, he felt like he understood, but not quite. After thinking for a long time, he came back to his senses and quickly bowed. Thank you for your advice. If there are no other questions, would you like something to eat? No, my mother may be waiting for me at home. Thank you very much, I will take my leave first. Kakashi, there are still 100 laps, youth and blood are not allowed to give up. Might Guy yelled as he ran. Aside, Kakashi is in hot pursuit. He was wearing a mask and couldn't see any expression, but his eyes revealed a bit of murderous intent. Guy, who told you I was here? The previous location was so hidden. If it wasn't for someone's guidance, it would be impossible for Guy's perception to find himself. I'll tell you if I win. Humph. Kakashi's eyes froze, and his speed increased a bit. Asuma can't do it. After a wave of oral education, I didn't get too many rewards, just a little weapon proficiency. Kyochi is playing with kunai in his hand. Kunai is quite proficient, and his sword skills seem to have improved slightly, but compared to Shisui's income before, Asuma's contribution this time is really not much. Never mind. It's better than nothing. He separated himself and prepared to cook something for himself. At this moment, a figure whizzed into the yard. Kyochi Kanda, Lord 3rd Generation, asked me to inform you that the Jonin exam will be held in the morning 5 days later. Please be sure to go to the Forest of Death by then. Understood. Thank you. After Kyochi saluted, Anbu Ninja disappeared directly. After Anbu Ninja left, he thought for a long time, and many recent situations flashed through his mind. Most of the ninjas have returned. It seems that the front line is completely fine, and the graduation test may begin next. The Jonin exam is going on at this time. It seems that there is also a shortage of Konoha teachers. During this time, most of the Konoha shinobi were fighting outside, and there were not even a few genins in the village. There was a backlog of tasks such as catching pets and carrying water and firewood. In addition, genin suffered a lot of casualties, and also needs a group of new recruits. But genin does not edit directly after graduation, but forms a 4-person team with the leading teacher. Most of them are led by Chunin, but Jonin also needs a lot. Jonin mostly leads the children of the family. This has always been the unspoken rule of Konoha. Now. Apparently, Jonin isn't nearly as adequate either. 3rd Generation doesn't know, but what Kyochi knows is that after a brief peace, Konoha will fight Mist Shinobi and Iwagakure again soon. In the 10 years since the start of the Second Ninja War, Konoha didn't have much chance to rest, and now it's a little bit out of date. No wonder in the follow-up, Cloud Shinobi Village directly robbed Hyuga Hanada, while 3rd Generation and the Hyuga clan chose to forbear. But Kyochi understands, but doesn't agree. Hazashi died unjustly. In addition, Konoha will come to this day, which has something to do with 3rd Generation and Danzo's executive policies. Since the establishment of the village, the 1st Generation has been the strongest, but it relies on the absolute strength of Senju Hashirama. The prosperity of the village is actually still under the tenure of 2nd Generation Senju Tobarama. The results of it: after Senju Tobarama died, Konoha continued to fight against the outer village, and continued to decline. Inside Konoha, even Sanin couldn't stay. Whose reason? This can't always be Uchiha's problem. The 3rd Generation is incompetent, that's for sure. Kanda Kyochi cooks delicious food, and while eating, he thinks about his next plan. Being the team leader was already planned. Follow up. In the war with Mist Shinobi and Cloud Shinobi, I want to make more achievements, but the most important thing is to make more people. If Danzo wants to attack me in the future, I will have the ability to fight back. Certainly. Orochimaru's strength and status are sufficient, but in the end, he was run away by Danzo. Because he himself is not clean, therefore, no handles can be left behind. Thinking of this, Kyochi has a clear understanding of his follow-up, and there is no more confusion in his heart. As for now, or exercise and improve yourself. I don't have class tomorrow. I just go to Might Dai and Might Guy to practice and exchange feelings. If the time is right, I can exchange 7-day calling and 8 inner gates. The next day. In Konoha, new faces in ninja uniforms keep appearing. These are ninjas who have returned from the front. Kyochi doesn't pay much attention to it, running along the perimeter to exercise, while a shadow clone at home is relentlessly practicing swordsmanship. His sword skills have improved a lot, but it may not be enough to use it against the enemy, at least not as skillful and direct as his other attack methods. Still have to practice. Sensei Kanda, let's have a competition. Exercise well. Kyochi didn't answer. Might Guy followed for a while, couldn't hold back, and suddenly kicked Kyochi. Kyochi tilted his head away. Might Guy flew over his head, but at this moment, a green shadow came from behind quickly. Guy. You bastard. How dare you sneak attack Sensei Kanda? Boom. With a muffled sound, Might Guy was kicked away and nearly hit a rock. Might wear it. The corner of Kyochi's mouth twitched. Although I have seen it once or twice, I still can't get used to the character and style of Might Guy and Might Guy. But every time the strike is so heavy, the child is still fine. No wonder they can practice 8 inner gates in one line. The ability to carry punches is developed from childhood. He ignored the two father and son and continued to run forward. They'll catch up anyway. But after running for a few steps, Kyochi narrowed his eyes towards the woods. Someone snooping. He sensed it for a moment and probably understood. This breath. Hitaki Kakashi. he remained calm and continued to run forward, as if he didn't perceive Kakashi's existence. Get closer. Suddenly, the bushes rustled. The next moment, Kakashi appeared behind Kyochi, with the unsheathed short sword on Kyochi's neck. Humph. That's all. He was about to put down the short sword, but the next moment, Kyochi in front of him slowly disappeared. Doppelganger. Impossible. When? Kakashi's eyes widened. Although he was surprised, he reacted very quickly and quickly jumped away. Earth-style ninjutsu. After landing, he was about to sneak into the ground. But he found that his ninjutsu had actually failed. There is a layer of chakra on the ground that belongs to someone else, blocking his earth-style ninjutsu. Amazing. In just a split second, the opponent switched positions with body flicker technique and clone technique that he couldn't identify, and then used earth-style chakra to seal his feet so that he could not evacuate. This is a battle veteran. At this time. Ding. As expected of Hitaki Kakashi, Kyochi suffers unbearably on Kakashi knives. In the blink of an eye, the opponent can quickly analyze the scene and make a judgment. This reaction ability is really strong, and the strength is not weak. If it is yourself without system improvement, you will be defeated by Kakashi as early as the first meeting. But now he is not afraid at all. Under Kakashi's horrified eyes, Kyochi grabbed his short sword directly. Only then did Kakashi notice that Kyochi's hand was black all over. Sclerosis. Wrong. Here's another earth-style ninjutsu, Earth Spear. He wanted to use the lightning-style chakra on the spot, but the opponent's strength became very terrifying in an instant. Kakashi couldn't hold the knife at all, and the weapon was taken away in an instant. What a terrifying force. Kakashi looked at the short sword that was taken away, and knew that he was completely defeated. At that moment just now, if the opponent was an enemy, he could have killed him directly with the kunai in his right hand. Amazing. The opponent is only 6 or 7 years older than himself, but his strength is not at the same level at all. The most unacceptable thing for him is, at the moment when the knife was taken away just now, he even felt that if he gave himself another 6 or 7 years, he would still be no match for this guy in front of him. This was a frustration he had never felt before. Do not. If he can perform lightning-style ninjutsu and grow up for a few more years, he will definitely be able to defeat this guy. Kakashi clenched his fists and cheered himself up. Kakashi, I said yesterday that you were no match for him, yet you still came to challenge Kanda's big brother. After Guy arrived, he laughed wantonly from the sidelines. But he himself was bruised and swollen, having obviously been beaten up by Might Day. Yesterday. Kyochi figured it out. I directed Might Guy to find Kakashi by myself. It seems that Kakashi was not reconciled in the end. He asked Might Guy about the culprit, and today he came to ambush for revenge. But the strength is still a little bit worse. Kakashi's assassination and sword skills are very strong, and his adaptability is also very fast, but it is a pity that he has mastered the Earth Spear, which can work without seals, and his physical body is strong, so he directly took away his sword. Certainly. The key is to avoid the first wave of attacks. Kakashi wanted to turn his head away, but the White Fang short sword was still in Kyochi's hands. At first, he just wanted to punish him, so he didn't even draw the knife, but he didn't expect that in the end, he lost so much that he lost the knife. Hateful. Do you know where you lost? Kakashi stared at him whoosh. Kyochi smiled and said, first of all, you underestimated the enemy. Kakashi nodded without denying it. He really underestimated the enemy. Mistakenly thinking that Kyochi is just a chunin teacher, there is nothing to be afraid of at all, only to find out that the opponent's strength is terrible after making a move. Not just earth-style, taijutsu. The body flicker technique just now also seemed to have hidden secrets, which made him unable to figure it out for the time being. The key is, the speed is too fast. Kakashi thought to himself that he was fast. Many Jonins were not even as fast as him, but compared to Kyochi it was still a lot slower. Just now, from the shot to the hit of the clone, he didn't understand when the opponent's body flicker technique was performed. Secondly, Kyochi's fingers fluttered, and the short sword danced in his hand. Very flowery. It's useless in battle, but it can show a little bit. We also know swordsmanship. Kakashi didn't understand. The exposed eyes stared at Kyochi, waiting for the follow-up answer. I think it's better for you to review this kind of problem by yourself. Kakashi was stunned for a moment. Waited for a long time, just waited for such a sentence? Say it earlier. He took the short sword and turned away. Kyochi couldn't help laughing out loud. No matter how serious he pretended to be, he was still just a child. He glanced at Might Dai and his son. After Guy taunted him just now, he was scolded by Might Dai again. The scene was very violent, and he stopped now. Then, the three of them continued to exercise. Kakashi followed behind. He did leave at first, but after thinking about it for a while, he kept thinking about his own shortcomings. However, he thinks, no problem. Kakashi is proud. If it was someone else, he didn't think there was a problem with his loss at all, he only thought that given him time, he would be able to overtake the opponent sooner or later. This is the confidence of a genius, but Kyoshi is different. He is only 15 years old. The 6-year gap is neither big nor small, but the opponent is very comprehensive and has almost no shortcomings. Kakashi doesn't have enough self-confidence. Defect. The fragment of the battle just now flashed repeatedly in his mind, and he had some thoughts in his mind. Knife. The problem is with the knife. Suddenly enlightened, he quickly chased after him and asked, is it a knife? Yo Kakashi, you didn't leave. I knew it. You must challenge me to a bloody battle. Might Guy became enthusiastic in an instant. Kakashi ignored him. This guy. Obviously he won yesterday, but the other party's reaction seemed to be that he lost. Bother. He stared at Kyoshi. Kyoshi smiled and said, you are good at swordsmanship, ninjutsu, and body arts, but you don't have a particularly outstanding ability. You are very good at swordsmanship, but you resist it from the bottom of your heart and don't want to grow it. Kakashi clenched his fist. The veins on his forehead twitched violently, stared at Kyoshi and said angrily, why do you say that? Isn't it? I heard that the Hitaki family was a samurai in the early years, and later became a ninja, so it has always been a family of swordsmanship. If you trust swordsmanship enough, why don't you integrate ninjutsu and body arts into swords? Kyoshi doesn't know how White Fang's sword skills are. But regardless of the anime or the fight just now, he doesn't think Kakashi really believes in short sword. Relying on yet resisting. This is Kakashi now. Kakashi has nothing to say. White Fang's sword skills are naturally not like his. Ninjutsu. That is the White Fang knife technique, and the White Fang short sword in his hand is actually a chakra weapon, which can be used in conjunction with chakra to exert stronger power. But he resisted in his heart, because Kakashi will unconsciously think of his father, the man who disgraced him and his family. Do you really understand your father? If you feel ashamed of Master White Fang, then you should just discard the knife, because then you are not worthy of using the White Fang short sword, and it is better to give it to someone who needs it more. If you're interested, I can exchange the Earth-style ninjutsu with a secret technique. It's definitely worth the money. Kyoshi said with a smile. This word, heartbroken. Might Dai looked at Kakashi. Your father was a great man. Dai met Kakashi's father, who was a great man. Yes. People, not ninjas. From the perspective of a ninja, it is natural for Tsukumo to give up the mission to save his companions, but as a human being, he protects his companions and dares to give up something for his companions. This kind of person is very respectable. You don't understand anything. Kakashi clenched the White Fang short sword tightly, and the body flicker technique left directly. Kyoshi shrugged and said, it seems that he doesn't understand, let's continue to exercise. Ah. Might Dai sighed lightly. Guy doesn't quite understand. In many ways, he is not that smart, otherwise he would not be called a rare beast by Hoshigaki Kisame. However, he is still very dependent psychologically. Even so, he refuses to give up his sword skills. Kyoshi seems to be pointing. Kakashi didn't go far. Relying on the ninja's hearing ability, he could definitely hear these words. But then, Kyoshi really left. There is a limit to being a good teacher. Chasing people to teach, that's too out of style. I am a life mentor, not an incompetent teacher who lacks disciples. Kakashi can figure it out on his own. If he can't figure it out, it has nothing to do with him, which makes Namikaze Minato a headache. Kakashi sat on a tree by the river, staring at his sword. Do you really understand your father? The words echoed in his ears. Very direct. Not alone in saying this, but this time, Kakashi reacted particularly violently. Because what the other party said seemed unreasonable, but it made him very concerned. Resist the knife? He does not know. After thinking for a while, Kakashi's fist hardened again. Do not. It was because he gave up the mission that he committed suicide and shamed the Hitaki family. He left angrily. Kyoshi didn't get the system prompt, but he wasn't surprised. If Kakashi was so easy to be deceived, he wouldn't have been in a dead end for so many years, and he was hated by everyone in the ninja community. But I really didn't have any sense of existence before. I was on the same team with Kakashi for a short time, but the kid didn't even recognize me at all. After running for a while, he still exercised beside the original woods. This time he deliberately practiced calling for 7 days. Might Dai is a master of individual skills. Although he doesn't think so himself, he just thinks he is a genin. At the moment when Kyoshi's body breath changes, he feels it, this feeling. Similar to 8 inner gates, will he also be 8 inner gates? Might Dai was curious and couldn't help but take a few more glances. Wrong. Different. This is not 8 inner gates. Sensei Kanda, what kind of technique is this? Might Dai was a little taken aback. 8 Gate has been researching for 20 years, and checked a lot of information. Finally, half groping and half thinking, he practiced this trick of his own. As a result, Kyoshi seems to have practiced something similar when he was only 15 years old. This is a physical technique that I thought of, the 7-day call. Kyoshi didn't hide. He practiced this method in the hope of attracting Might Dai's attention. 7 days calling? Might wear surprise. It's really different from my own. 8 inner gates is based on the 8 gate of the human body. No matter how it is changed, the foundation is the 8 gate, and the name of Kyoshi's taijutsu mentions who, so. It has something to do with breathing. Although Might Dai has only practiced 8 inner gates for 20 years, he already has a good understanding of Taishu in the process of studying 8 inner gates. Just a name, he guessed the core. But how to do it, Might Dai naturally does not know. Lightning-style chakra can stimulate cell activity, and inhaling a lot of oxygen can also stimulate cell activity. Kyoshi said, this is the core of the 7-day invocation. It's just that compared to the lightning-style chakra stimulation, the 7-day breathing method is rougher, and the speed and strength limit after stimulation are higher and stronger, but the cost is correspondingly greater. In this way, the side effects are indeed much smaller than mine. Might Dai may lack knowledge, but after 20 years of research and pondering, his understanding of the body is indeed very high, and he instantly understood the benefits of the 7-day recitation. The burden on the body is small, yours? Sensei Kanda, to tell you the truth, I have also created a physical technique that explodes the upper limit of the human body based on some previous materials for more than 20 years, 8 inner gates. Might Dai nodded, and then began to roughly explain the principle. The more he talks, the more he admires Kyoshi. The 8 gate of the human body, in a sense, limits the upper limit of chakra in the body and prevents it from harming itself. This is the door for the 8 ways to protect themselves. Opening it and gaining great power will naturally also suffer the backlash brought by unlocking, muscle tearing and physical collapse are only the smallest price among them. Although the upper limit of 7-day call method may not be as good as 8 inner gates, it is more suitable for popularization and application. Although it will pay the price of cell division, but on the battlefield, this kind of explosive body technique can save a life at a critical moment. And just to stimulate physical activity, the use of chakra will not be greatly affected. This is better than 8 inner gates. 8 inner gates opened the limit, and chakra's explosive charge was too terrifying, far beyond human control. Compared with these benefits, mere cell division is really nothing. Thinking of this, he couldn't help putting aside his scruples, and asked, Mr. Kanda, my 8 inner gates is based on the 8 gates of the human body, so I named it 8 gates. What is your 7-day call? I envisioned that there should be 7 levels of activation, but at present, I have only developed the 3rd activation. Kyoshi said. The Might guy on the side has long been confused. Although he started to practice 8 inner gates, he still doesn't have a thorough understanding of the essence of the human body and body arts. He can't understand such topics at all, let alone talk about his own understanding. After listening for a long time, he simply went to practice the martial arts moves by himself. The 3rd activity, Might wear a tickle. Stimulating cell activity is a very novel way of thinking. He never thought that he could enhance physical skills from this angle. Currently, the amount of inhaled oxygen is used as the standard. Now it can inhale 4 times the oxygen, but in the future development, I don't think it can be just that. Wait. These are all your own creations, I can't listen to them for nothing. I exchanged them with 8 inner gates, but no, with Kanda-sensei's character, I can definitely use this technique at the right time. Might Dai wanted to educate his son like that. But thinking about it carefully, is Kyoshi's character worth worrying about? With Mr. Kanda's character, he will definitely use 8 inner gates for protection. Thank you, Senior. To tell you the truth, I'm also very interested in opening the 8 gates body technique. However, the 8 gate is the lock of the human body's chakra. This technique should be classified as a forbidden technique and cannot be used frequently. Sure enough, Mr. Kanda, you don't need me to say more to understand. Might Dai laughed a few times, and then began to exchange methods in a low voice. Kyoshi also taught him the 7-day call, but starting from the 4th activity, there is no reference for the 7-day invocation. Unless the system can create a follow-up out of nothing, it can only rely on its own research. Compared with the incomplete 7-day calling method, the complete 8 inner gates is naturally better. But Might Dai didn't feel like he was at a loss. The 7-day call made him see another completely different direction. Although it is unrealistic to use it at the same time as the 8 inner gates, he is very interested in it. If it can be researched and improved, it may be possible to promote the activity method. Mr. Kanda, the first activity and lowering some functions and thresholds, can it be promoted as a common physical skill? I have this idea, and I'm still researching it. I'm stupid, I'm only a genin so far, but I can try to help. That's great. While Kyochi was excited, he couldn't help but secretly blushed. He wanted to exchange the 8 inner gates, but Might Dai wanted to improve the low-level breathing method suitable for most ninjas from the 7-day breathing method, and the light pattern itself was low. The key is, in Might Dai's eyes, his character seems to be very noble. After communicating with Might Dai, Kyochi couldn't help but sigh. It's a bit too wasteful for 3rd generation to let someone like Might Dai just be a genin. So, does Konoha lack talent? There is no shortage, it's just that 3rd generation and Danzo forced themselves to not cultivate and preserve it. Compared with Senju Tobarama, 3rd generation is much weaker in this aspect. This day, Kyochi and Might Dai have been discussing and experimenting. 8 inner gates, 7 days call. The 2 body arts are completely different systems, but they are both explosive forbidden techniques. Might Dai still has a good understanding, and he quickly mastered the first activity. I have some inspiration, but I don't know how to say it. Might Dai blushed anxiously. He practiced body skills all by deadly practice, without much theoretical knowledge, and 8 inner gates could explain it clearly, but after researching and summarizing the 7-day recitation, he couldn't make any sense for a while. Generally speaking, it is Yelezi. Kyochi understands. He thought for a while and said, Senior Dai, there is no need to be too anxious about this matter. It is really impossible to directly announce the first activity, and it is universal enough. But 8 inner gates, I think it can create different matching moves. Supporting different moves. Why? Although the 8 inner gates will cause physical damage to the user, the 8 gate did not cause instant death before. As the restriction is opened, chakra and physical status will show different levels of changes. In this way, ordinary physical skills are no longer applicable. Even if the 7-day invocation is the first activity, it is at least an A-level forbidden technique, and it is estimated that at least an elite chunin is eligible to learn it. There is no need to worry too much about this. Kyochi thinks that the most important thing is to develop the supporting taijutsu of 8 inner gates. Might wear very strong, but his use of the 8 inner gates was poor. If you can learn the set of physical skills developed by Guy, it is estimated that the 7 swordsmen Might Dai can keep all of them, and even just open the 7th gate may be able to repel the opponent. So, it is imperative to study the supporting physical skills. Well, it makes sense, but teacher, I have no idea at all, and I don't know how to create it for a while. Might Dai scratched his head. He is able to speak clearly and logically in the 7-day invocation because he has studied 8 inner gates for 20 years and accumulated a lot of experience and knowledge in the process. But physical moves are not within the scope of his research, and Might Dai himself is not a person who fights bravely. He knows that his talent is not good, so he is not interested in this kind. I have a rough idea. Kyochi understands. Might Dai doesn't have much fighting experience. He has always been a genin, except during the war. He has very little experience in killing and fighting, which is completely different from Might Guy's experience. After all, being able to create 8 inner gates is already quite remarkable. Row. Might Dai scratched his head. He thought hard, his mind was still blank and he had no clue. Kyochi looked at Might Guy. Might Dai doesn't understand fighting, but Guy does. Although he is only genin, he has experienced more battles than Might Dai. Moves like Leaf Hurricane. Guy mastered it much faster than his father. Guy, have you mastered the 8 inner gates yet? I only practiced 3rd gate. Might Guy is ashamed. But Kyochi was already very surprised. He opened the 3rd gate at the age of 9. This talent is not weak at all. But considering what he's accomplished, it's hardly surprising. Kyochi talked about the concept of lianhua, understand? Clear. Might Guy's combat talent is indeed better than Dai. Dai is still thinking about it, but he already understands the essence. Lianhua lies in the speed chain attack, which will cause a high load on the body, but it is more suitable for the state after the 8 gate is turned on. Jingmun and Jingmun will form a qualitative change. Is there a physical technique that uses this qualitative change to create a matching body that belongs to the 2 states? Kyochi said again. Might Dai was lost in thought. He naturally understands the state of the Jingmun. He showed the 8 inner gates to Might Guy before, and he directly opened the state of the Jingmun. Take advantage of the 8 gate feature. Seems to work. That's all for the exchange. Might Dai himself is not so savvy. If he talks too much, the other party may become more confused and have no thoughts. Why don't you bring up a concept and let them understand the principle before thinking about it? There won't be too many wars this year, so might die have a lot of time to think. Kyochi began to try 8 inner gates. His body is not weak, and he already has the experience of mastering the 7-day invocation, so. Open the door, open easily. Shumen is not a problem, but Shengmen is a bit difficult. However, Shengmen is the beginning of 8 gate, and he doesn't count as an entry now. It seems that if you want to drive more, you need to exercise further. Kyochi thought. He glanced at the system. There was a reminder sound before, but I was busy at the time and didn't have time to pay attention. Complete the teaching of 7-day call, and Lianhua. Evaluation. Excellent. Reward. Medical ninjutsu basics, healing jutsu. Ah. Medical ninjutsu. Why this? Kyochi was a little surprised. He never expected this reward to be this time. It seems that it has nothing to do with his teaching. But, after receiving it, the control of chakra is obviously more precise. Yes, medical ninjutsu has the highest requirement for chakra control. The basics of medical ninjutsu are equivalent to giving me a lot of medical knowledge and chakra control. It smells so good. Kyochi is content. In comparison, healing jutsu, which is an A-level ninjutsu, is similar to Tiento. Due to the Jonin exam, he basically had no classes for the next 2 or 3 days. Basically, I study physical skills with Might Dai and Might Guy every day, and Shadow Clone practices sword skills. During this time, the frontline war basically ended. More and more ninjas returned to the village, and Kyochi saw many familiar faces, such as Akamichi Choza and Hyuga Hazashi. But these people don't know him. Kyochi had no intention of reaching out to him, it wasn't necessary. They are not children, they are not so easy to fool, and they are not beautiful when they get together. Kyochi is all about working out these days. He has already opened the 8 gate to the 3rd gate, but in the follow-up research, he hesitated, and did not immediately study the way to further open the 8 gate. 8 inner gates are strong, probably not for him. The chakra brought by the 8 gate is too violent. Even if he gets the basics of medical ninjutsu and the controllability of chakra is further enhanced, he can still only be manipulated simply. Wanting to perform extremely demanding ninjutsu such as strange power and earth spear in the 8 gate state is simply a dream. Compare. There is no such situation in the 7-day recitation. Perhaps the 7-day invocation is more suitable for me. Kyochi thought to himself. Certainly. 8 inner gates, he can still practice, but it is not intended to be used as the main method, but to be reserved as a whole card. Might Guy has a lot to gain, he has become a lotus flower. Might Day's comprehension of the moves is indeed poor, but he quickly mastered the first activity of the 7-day call. Same as Kyochi. He learned the 7-day calling method, but it was also just a taste, and he didn't go deep into the 2nd and 3rd activities. After learning the first activity, he began to think about how to shallow it. The first activity is still not suitable as a conventional method. And these are not what Kyochi needs to consider, he has more important things at present. Jonin exam. In the past few days, his physical skills have improved a lot, and his sword skills have not stopped every day, and he has also made great progress. It's just that the swordsmanship notes that Grandma got were more scattered notes and theoretical ideas, without forming a systematic move, and his swordsmanship was only usable. On the morning of the 5th day, Kyochi came to the Death Forest as promised. The Dead Forest is huge. There are many traps and beasts here, and it is divided into several practice fields. After Kyochi came here, he found that he was not the only one who took the Jonin exam. Apart from him, there were about 7 or 8 other ninjas, 3 of whom were from Aburame and Hyuga. Such a configuration. Very familiar. Moreover, the other parties seemed to be secretly observing him. Root organization. As for the other 3, 1 or 2 may be ordinary ninjas like him, but one is definitely not. The one with the ponytail and the scar around the mouth. Baiyun Morning? This is definitely no ordinary ninja. Anbu. Kyochi guessed in his mind. The Jonin exam will start soon, and those who are named will receive a voucher. Tekuno. Yes. Baiyun Morning. Yes. Hyuga Dao. Kanda Kyochi. Exist. Kyochi stood up and, like them, stepped forward to receive the voucher respectfully. Then, he listened carefully to the name. Baiyun didn't surprise him in the morning, after all, his features were so obvious that he immediately remembered it. But that chubby young ninja turned out to be Tekuno who had appeared with him in the anime. This is a bit of a surprise. Kyochi remembered him for a simple reason. This ninja master has played a lot of times, and is one of the few ninja masters who combine ninja and summoning scrolls like Tianshin, so that he can finally become Jonin. It can be seen that he is indeed quite accomplished in ninja tools. Kyochi couldn't help but take a few extra glances. Besides them, there is another one who is an unknown elite chunin, but quite the opposite. This person poses the greatest threat to Kyochi. This is the information he detected based on Chakra's perception. He doubts who this person turned into a disguise. Orochimaru? It is possible. This guy loves to play with these the most. Kyochi scanned around, and roughly guessed the situation of this Jonin exam. Most of them are ninjas who are inconvenient to be directly promoted by military exploits, but have reached the standard. The first exam will be held here, please take the exam with 7 papers. It was a Jonin who spoke. Kyochi recognized him as Yuhi Mako, Yuhi's father. But this was not the time to meet the parents of the students, so he went forward to get the papers, then quickly sat on the position set in advance in the practice field, and began to answer the papers. Becoming a Jonin requires a certain amount of knowledge. Even Naruto and Hokage cannot avoid this level in the end, and he has studied hard for a long time. Kyochi took a look at the test paper and couldn't help but breathe a little. Topic above. Difficult to say, easy to say. Most of them are knowledge-related topics such as battlefield tactics, battle formation positions, etc., as long as they are experienced Chunin basically knows. Although Kyochi can't say that he understands everything, it is not difficult to answer the questions based on the knowledge of his previous life and some experience gained from watching anime in his previous life. Several others can be answered more easily, because here, the youngest is Kyochi Kanda. It's really slow to be promoted to Chunin at the age of 14. But if he can be promoted to Jonin at the age of 15, it's not too weak. He can be called the focus of this exam. In fact, Kyochi himself understood that half of the 7 people in the examination room might have come for him. The first exam is just the beginning. He calmed down and observed while answering the questions. After a while, the unknown Matsunohara handed in the papers, and the others also handed in the papers one after another. Kyochi is the last one. It's not that he can't answer, he just wants to be the last one to leave and observe the situation of these people. Now we basically have the answer. The 2 Abarames should be from the root organization and have been secretly observing themselves, while Hyuga Dao may have really come to the exam and finished answering and handing in the paper very early. The content of the second exam is very simple. There are 2 scrolls in the Forest of Death. The first 4 people who get all the scrolls will be qualified for the 3rd round. After Yuhi Zhenhan finished reading, she directly gave a loose order. The next moment, everyone disappeared instantly. Kyochi gets it. In the 2nd round, the test was intelligence gathering, combat and speed. Naturally, no one can compare to the Aburame and Hyuga clans in terms of collection. These 3 people are a big problem for this exam, but Kyochi has to face more than these. And Matsunohara. This guy is really here for the exam? When the body flicker technique spread out just now, Kyochi found that he ran in the same direction as himself. Everyone has the strength of Jonin, and he didn't believe that the other party could not perceive his position. Never mind. It doesn't matter, anyway, it's not realistic to find 2 scrolls by yourself. It still depends on the Aburame family and the Hyuga family. These 2 are good scouts. Kyochi uses his chakra senses to check his surroundings as he runs. Matsunohara still followed him. This man must be in disguise, not to promote Jonin. Kyochi knew it all. He didn't follow directly. After following for a while, after judging the opponent's speed, he kept himself and Aburamafe within the range where they could quickly catch up. His position is interesting, is it perceptual? Matsunohara licked his lips, excitement flashed in his eyes. Senju. How enviable. Not for a while. Aburame flew to find a scroll, and then quickly rushed to another direction. Looking at him, it was obvious that the bug helped him find another scroll. Kyochi was about to catch up. At this time, whoosh. With a sound, Matsunohara, wearing a green vest, landed in front of Kyochi, and said in a slightly hoarse voice, "Kyochi Kanda, there are only 4 places for this exam, do you want to get it?" Orochimaru die pervert. Kyochi cursed inwardly. He. I am not interested in scrolls, but I am very interested in you. If you can defeat me, maybe I can get you scrolls. When Matsunohara said this, he couldn't help licking his lips. This voice and behavioral qualities are clearly Orochimaru without a doubt. I'm not interested in you. Kyochi was not surprised. In the first exam, he suspected that this guy was Orochimaru, because Jiraiya was doing the peace negotiation with Sanagakure on the front line, and Orochimaru must have returned to the village. Then it's up to you. Matsunohara smiled. He took out the kunai and instantly appeared beside Kyochi. However, the next moment, Kyochi in front of him turned into broken shadows. Clone technique. Wrong. What a quick body flicker technique. Matsunohara's eyes were even more excited. Raising his hand, a big snake appeared. Nima's. No more face. Kyochi saw the big snake landed in front of him, and cursed inwardly, but he didn't hesitate to make a move. He made a seal directly, and then sprayed a jet of water from his mouth. Water-style water-severing wave. The sharp water gun cut off the big snake in the middle, and even changed its direction, heading towards the Matsunohara behind. Matsunohara didn't expect Kyoshi to be able to perform such powerful ninjutsu. But when the water jet cut through, his body turned into a puddle of mud. Soil double. This is Sanin. Can avoid ninjutsu attacks with minimal cost. Kyoshi was not surprised, and quickly flew to Aburame to catch up. Orochimaru is just candy, he can't beat it again and again, and it's still very sticky. There's no need to entangle with him. The key now is to get the scroll and get the quota. And distinguishing the status of friend and foe and completing tasks are also the abilities Jonin needs, so there is no point in complaining. Orochimaru was intrigued. At first, he just wanted to test Kyoshi's ability to see if Senju's physical awakening was true, but after observing Kyoshi's strength far exceeded his expectations. The modified body flicker technique, the almost lost second-generation stunt water-severing wave. Is there anything else that I didn't think of? Sensei, is this Nidame's ninjutsu? Well, you presided over the exam this time, how will the third round go? Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded. He was also amazed to see Kyoshi perform water-severing wave. This kid has mastered water-style ninjutsu which no one can learn after Senju Tobirama. The Senju family used to be a branch house and scattered a lot of things. These are not surprising. It's amazing that Kyoshi's ninjutsu talent is surprisingly good. Not only has he mastered the water-severing wave, but he has also transformed the instantaneous technique. Even without the Senju blood, Kyoshi is a talent. Orochimaru licked his lips and said with a smile, "Teacher, there is no third round, I am the third round." Although the teacher gathered some people for this exam, this kid is the only one who really needs to be promoted by this method. Chunin was directly promoted to Jonin, and he was still injured, and his combat achievements were insufficient. But right now we are short of talents and urgently need manpower, so we have to do so. Third generation side. In times of war, ninjas are often promoted very quickly without passing exams. But Kanda Kyoshi was injured. Although the battlefield meritorious service is not small, it is not enough to reach the level of promotion to Jonin, which is very embarrassing. I'm relieved that you will host this time. At present, Kyoshi's strength is completely at the level of Jonin. It depends on intelligence collection and judgment on the battlefield situation. Third generation said. At this time, he didn't know that Orochimaru was researching Hashirama cells. He thought that Orochimaru was only interested in Kyoshi, so he took the initiative to ask Ying to stop this errand. Everyone has the love of talents, certainly. Third generation is also well aware of his inextricable relationship with Danzo, so after speaking, he added, Orochimaru, I am very assured of your ability, but you should have less contact with them. Teacher, I'm just going to borrow someone this time to facilitate the layout of the examination room, and this promotion will be more convincing. Orochimaru said, eyes narrowed. Seconded Hyuga Dao, it seems that the problem was seen. You know what I mean. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded slightly, and didn't say anything clearly, but the meaning of the words was already clear, and it depended on Orochimaru's willingness to listen. Dead forest. Kyoshi is still playing catch-up with Orochimaru. Orochimaru was real brown candy, and he kept pestering him. Kyoshi didn't fight him much. Firstly, it didn't meet the mission objectives, and secondly, he suspected that Orochimaru was here for his own blood. He doesn't want Orochimaru to get it just yet. But after a while, he noticed another figure coming towards him. Hyuga Dao. He's from Danzo too. How come? A strange look flashed in Kyoshi's eyes. However, one thing is certain. Danzo and Orochimaru set up the next game, most likely because they wanted to injure themselves to obtain blood, so as to further study Hashirama cells. He pretended not to perceive Hyuga Dao and continued towards Aburame's flying place. The opponent has already got 2 scrolls. Moments later, Hyuga Dao appeared ahead, blocking Kyoshi's path. Sorry, I have a task and I have to. Hyuga Dao speaks short and direct. Kyoshi sneered and ignored him, but, whoosh. Body flicker technique, walk past him. In the next moment, Hyuga Dao rolled his eyes directly, and then charged towards Kyoshi. Gentle fist method. He is very fast, and under his eyes, he has a more accurate insight into Kyoshi's trajectory, and he is confident that he can keep up with the body flicker technique and block with acupuncture. Planning is fine. But he just caught up, only to find Kyoshi's chakra all over his body. This is Earth Spear. Using Earth-style chakra to form a protective layer, it is difficult to hit acupuncture points. He immediately knew that it was not good and hit backhand empty. 8 trigrams air palm. However, Kyoshi reacted very quickly and dodged quickly, followed by a mudra with both hands. A water dragon rose into the air and rushed towards him. This is just the first killing move. The key is still. Hyuga Tomo just dodged the water dragon bomb when he saw Kyoshi go straight behind him with great speed. Shadow dance leaves. Then, kick. Hyuga Dao was kicked out directly and knocked down several trees along the way. If Orochimaru hadn't used Earth Style to help him weaken the impact at the end, he might have to fly for a while. At this time, Hyuga Dao was unconscious and badly injured. Obsolete. Orochimaru was surprised and looked at Kyoshi in surprise. Hyuga Dao is the elite who joined Anbu from the Hyuga branch house. He was seconded by him, and his strength is not weak, but he was hit face to face by Kyoshi, and he lost his combat power with just one kick. This blow was too terrible. Definitely used some kind of special physical technique. Another new technique. Kyoshi-kun, you really gave me too many surprises. Orochimaru was thrilled. He has a feeling of meeting a bosom friend. Are you Lord Orochimaru? Kyoshi said. You know it's me, but you still only have a shadow clone? Kyoshi-kun, I'm Sanin anyway. Orochimaru smiled. Kyoshi has seen him on the battlefield. As long as he pays more attention, it is not difficult to detect some characteristics of himself, such as lick your lips. Damn habit. But when you recognize it, you recognize it. He wasn't much discouraged. Compared with mere tasks, he appreciates Kyoshi's innovative ability and talent more. This is a genius like himself. A big snake appeared. It put Hyuga Dao on its back and quickly headed somewhere in the forest of death. I'm curious about the technique just now, can you clear it up for me? Orochimaru knew that Kyoshi had just started a special physical technique, and the speed was a bit faster than usual, and now he couldn't catch up at all. Instead of wasting time, it's better to satisfy curiosity. The one just now was not created by me, but learned from others. 8 inner gates. Shadow clones smiled. Orochimaru didn't want to do anything, and he was so happy. How about sitting down and communicating with each other? And he's sure that third generation must be peeping, and this is a good chance to make a name for might. 8 gate. Indeed. Interesting, I didn't expect Konoha to have such a genius for studying such physical skills, but there should be more than this one, right? Orochimaru's eyes were full of excitement. Quan Konoha talks about various researches, and now even third generation can't compare with him. 8-gate theory, he naturally knows. Although Kyoshi's technique is cryptic and covered with the breath of 8-gate, he can still deduce that Kyoshi opened the door at most just now, according to the ability to open the door. Not enough to defeat Hyuga Dao in one hit. 8 trigrams air palm. Earth spear. Orochimaru talked to himself. He sorted out his thoughts and continued to deduce, and found that it was probably an earth-style ninjutsu. Earth spear. Nothing can be hidden from Lord Orochimaru. Excellent. Turn on 8 inner gates and maintain the soil spear state at the same time. Your chakra control ability must be very strong. Orochimaru sighed again and again. He has to admit that Kyoshi is the most talented young man he has met in years. Namikaze Minato is also talented, but not Orochimaru's type. Kanda Kyoshi is. He vaguely felt that Kanda Kyoshi knew more than that. I really want to fight you, but unfortunately, I am the chief examiner this time, and it would be too embarrassing for me to attack you with all my strength. Orochimaru sighed. He showed his true face and didn't make another move. Next moment, he saw not far away, black worms all over the sky. Obviously, Kyoshi fought with the one from Abarame's family. Passing Kyoshi's shadow clone, Orochimaru whispered, Mr. Kyoshi, next time we have a chance, let's have a good chat. Abarame Fei will not be Kyoshi's opponent, he is very sure. Yes. The other side. Abarame flew to get the scroll and immediately ran to the finish line. However, he didn't run far before the worm informed the situation. Kanda Kyoshi is here, so fast. Abarame Fei was secretly startled. Master Orochimaru and Dao Hyuga failed to stop each other? How is this possible? But there was no time to shock him. Kyoshi had caught up, and he had to stop him and bring the scroll to the final destination. The parasites flew out. The parasites all over the sky swept towards Kyoshi like a black mist, but what surprised him happened. The other party ignored the parasites and rushed out with a layer of earth-style chakra. What a speed! He quickened his pace, but how can it compare to Kyoshi? Without opening the first activity or 8 inner gates, Kyoshi is enough to crush Abarame Fly with the body flicker technique alone. Abarame flew just a few steps away when the newly branched worms sensed. The other party is here. Boom! Leaf hurricane. With one kick, Abarame flew and turned into a pile of bugs. Worms stand in. As expected. The next moment, hands formed seals and a water dragon soared up. Boom. With a sound, a large hole was directly smashed into the ground. Aburame flew staggering out from the side. As he ran, he coughed violently. It hurts a little bit. What the hell? This water dragon bomb is too powerful, right? However, the next moment, the opponent had already caught up. Aburame flew without giving up. But Kyoshi didn't show mercy either. He was decisive and kicked him away with one kick. I don't know you well, so what's the deal? Aburame was vomiting blood and couldn't run anymore. Kyoshi confiscated his ninja gear, then took the scroll, and separated a shadow clone in place. Avatar will give you simple treatment. When he ran towards the finish line, he had figured it out a little bit in his heart. Orochimaru refers to examiner. It can be seen that this exam, he did not sneak in like in the comics, but sneaked in openly, or. This is an additional question. Give yourself a question. Kyoshi knows. By defeating Aburame Fei and Hyuga Dao by himself, the most important obstacle has been removed, and Orochimaru's abandonment of tracking means that he has recognized his own strength. After the additional questions are completed, Jonin is basically stable. The third pass? It doesn't matter at all. Coming to the end, he overlaps the reels, not for a while. Kyoshi-kun, we meet again. Orochimaru appears. This is double. But he obviously wanted to chat with Kyoshi, so he didn't cancel the avatar immediately, but smiled and said, Kyoshi-kun, I am the chief examiner this time. Do you know why you are the only one being chased by me? Tekuno and another senior from the Aburame family were promoted because of their meritorious service on the battlefield. Senior Baiyun. If I'm right, it should be from Lord Hokage's side. I'm the only one who lacks combat achievements. Kyoshi said. Ha ha ha, yes, you are very good. Orochimaru was smiling. Really? Smart people understand without saying anything. Thank you sir for keeping your hand, otherwise how could I catch up with Aburame Fei? Kyoshi wasn't as proud as Orochimaru was. The other party definitely didn't do their best. Among other things, ninjutsu is basically useless, and more is physical combat. A ninjutsu master like Orochimaru uses taijutsu to fight. What is it if it is not water? Ha ha ha, go to the Hokage building and take the third exam. Orochimaru's figure disappeared. Kyoshi bowed his head and followed closely towards the Hokage building. The exam is over. As he thought, it doesn't matter whether there is a third game or not. The focus is on this second game, which is full of traps, pursuits and tasks. Others are just going through the motions, and only he has to take the real test. The problem is the extra 3 people. When we came to the Hokage building, third generation was already waiting. Except for Kyoshi, all 3 of Baiyun morning passed. Grown-ups. Okay. You all passed the second exam, especially Kyoshi. It's beyond my expectations. I can say that I didn't expect you to do so well. Sarutobi Hiruzen was all smiles. At first, he only thought that Kyoshi would definitely be able to pass the test, but he never expected that Kyoshi is not only strong, but the overall quality Jonin needs is not bad at all, even stronger than many Jonin. In addition, Kyoshi also taught himself the knowledge of medical ninjutsu. It can be called a comprehensive and perfect leading teacher. Thank you Hokage-sama. Kyoshi bowed in thanks. Tekuno looked around, scratched his head and said in a daze, my lord, the third exam. Hehe, there is no third exam. Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled, from today onwards, you are the Jonin of the village. Except for Tekuno, the other 3 were not surprised. Bai Yunzao and the Aburame tribe had already heard the news. This time it was just a formality, and it was more of a formality, while Kyoshi had already guessed. With so many people, he was surrounded by 3 people. It was clearly aimed at him, and it was clear why. Senju bloodline. Have you got it yet? No, he is very strong, the Senju clan, even if they are intermarried and intergenerational, they still have very terrifying power, which is really awe-inspiring. Orochimaru was engaged in the research at hand, eyes full of excitement. Senju Constitution. After so many years, we can see its glory again. You didn't even get it. Danzo frowned, rather annoyed. You are kidding me. That's it for Sanin? As the chief examiner, my duty is to take the exam. Since he has enough strength, I can't deliberately make things difficult. Danzo, if you are in a hurry, why don't you do it yourself? Orochimaru sneered and glanced at him. Use him as a weapon? He sneered and said, Master Danzo, I am only interested in Kyoshi, so I became the examiner in charge of the test, and I will help you by the way. If you really want to blame, it is because your subordinates are too incompetent. Hyuga Dao was hit hard by a kick. Aburame has no power to resist at all, and is chased away from start to finish, only thinking about completing the mission to prevent Kyoshi from becoming Jonin. The subordinates are not doing well, and they are looking for trouble for me. Do you really think I'm easy to mess with? A murderous look flashed in Orochimaru's eyes. I'm also thinking about cell research. Since it's a bit troublesome, I'll look at it later. Anyway, there are plenty of opportunities, so why should we argue? Danzo narrowed his eyes, and then a smile appeared on his face. Orochimaru spoke for a while, then studied on his own. He and Danzo get what they want. If Danzo really felt superior to himself, he would not be polite to Danzo. And teacher during the day. Sarutobi Hiruzen's words came to Orochimaru's mind. What does he know? Probably not. Although he is currently using a captive who is hiding in secret, if the teacher knows, it will definitely not be as simple as just an understatement. That sentence should refer to Kanda Kyochi. Then I'll go first. Danzo is leaving. At the door, Orochimaru's voice came. I advise you not to have any thoughts about him recently, and beware of the old man looking for you. He is not old enough now, and he will definitely not bear the price of moving Senju for you.